Picking up beauties in the apocalypse. After the Earth was hit by an asteroid, special radiation turned a large number of humans into zombies. There is no antidote, and only a few humans are immune to this radiation. Zombies are difficult to kill, and normal people are constantly infected and eliminated. After waking up, the protagonist finds himself in such a doomsday. The only chance to survive is to execute the system's task: save the beauty. Chapter 1: Picking up beauties in the apocalypse. In the old district of Linjiang City, Li Liang felt a heavy sensation in his head. The sunlight streaming in was so intense that it made his eyes squint. He put his hand on his head, but something felt wrong. It felt like he was touching parchment paper, and some areas were wet. What's going on? Why does it smell so bad? Li Liang suddenly jumped up in shock. What he saw before him left him speechless in terror. He was lying outside a building, surrounded by hundreds of zombies, their bodies rotting and emitting a foul stench, aimlessly wandering around him. My God! Li Liang screamed, which immediately drew the attention of all the zombies. However, they merely glanced at him before moving on. What's happening? Li Liang was terrified. He thought he was a goner, but nothing had happened. He stood up and looked at his reflection in the glass, nearly fainting from shock. He too was a zombie. It must be a nightmare. He just had to wake up. Li Liang lay back down, closed his eyes, and hoped to fall asleep again. But then, a female voice echoed in his mind: Apocalypse Beauty Collection System activated. Who? Li Liang opened his eyes, only to find that apart from the zombies, there was no one else around. He realized this was not a dream. System. Am I saved? Li Liang's mind clicked into place. This was just like the plot of many novels. So there's a cheat system, huh? Come on, tell me, what's my power? Is it strong? Li Liang asked excitedly, no longer as fearful as before. The system answered coldly: find the beauties assigned by the system, save them, and receive rewards after completing each task. What kind of system is this? Li Liang thought to himself, shocked by how bizarre the system's request was. I have to save beauties. And it doesn't even tell me what the rewards are. Will I get screwed over? While he was still pondering, the system prompted again: there is a beauty on the 23rd floor of this building. Her situation is dangerous. Hurry and save her. So quick. Li Liang hadn't even decided if he should save someone yet, and the system was already giving him a mission. To hell with it. He couldn't just stand by and watch someone die, especially not a beauty. Li Liang walked into the building. There were plenty of zombies inside, but they regarded him as one of their own and didn't stop him. The elevator doors were open, but it wasn't moving. Could it be that zombies were too stupid to use the elevator? The elevator door made a noise, startling some nearby zombies. Li Liang hurried in and shut the door, realizing that zombies were very sensitive to sounds. Li Liang pressed the button for the 23rd floor. The whole floor was filled with offices, and every room was in disarray, as if a massacre had just taken place. Black blood streaks stained the floor, and dried blood handprints marked the hallway. Is anyone here? Li Liang shouted down the hallway. There was no response. The silence was eerie. System, are you sure there's anyone here? There's no one around. Li Liang surveyed his surroundings. This place had already been attacked by zombies. There couldn't be any living people left. Just as he turned to leave, an empty plastic water bottle rolled out from one of the offices. It was an empty bottle. Could the wind have blown it out? Li Liang looked around again but saw no one. That bottle couldn't have appeared out of nowhere. He walked over to the office where the bottle had come from. Is anyone in there? Li Liang asked softly. Who are you? A faint voice came from the farthest corner of the office. The voice was shaky, as if the speaker was trembling. I'm here to save you. Li Liang called out, feeling a mix of excitement and determination. This was the first person he had seen since waking up, and she was the beauty assigned by the system. He had to ask her what had happened. Come out. It's safe here. Li Liang had already surveyed the entire floor and hadn't seen any zombies. At that, movement came from the back of the office, and slowly, a young woman wearing a blue outfit and a black skirt emerged from behind a desk. She had long black hair that partially covered her face, but even so, Li Liang could tell she was very beautiful. However, as soon as she saw Li Liang, she screamed. You're a zombie. She tried to retreat back to her hiding spot. But there was no use in hiding now. She had already been spotted. Her body trembled as she picked up a chair and held it in front of her, visibly shaking in fear. She was scared that Li Liang would pounce on her and eat her. "Don't be afraid of me." Li Liang finally realized that, given his current appearance, it was no wonder she was scared of him. He quickly tried to explain. "Listen, I don't know what happened. I just woke up like this." Before he could finish, Yang Ying screamed again, staring in terror at something behind Li Liang. Li Liang turned around, and to his horror, 2 male zombies had appeared behind him. Their mouths were open, saliva dripping, and their red eyes were fixed on Yang Ying. "I didn't bring them here," Li Liang muttered to himself, but no one heard him. The 2 zombies had already circled around him and were heading straight for Yang Ying. She cried out in fear, swinging the chair uselessly. In a few seconds, the zombies would grab her. "To hell with it, I'm going for it." Li Liang was startled but didn't hesitate. Although he was scared, he couldn't leave her to die. He grabbed a chair and swung it at one of the zombies' heads. Bang! The zombie's skull was crushed, and brain matter spilled out. "Got one." Li Liang thought he had successfully taken down a zombie, but he was wrong. The zombie with the smashed head turned around and lunged at him. To his surprise, its head began to heal rapidly. At the same time, the second zombie changed its target and staggered toward Li Liang. "They don't die." Li Liang thought in horror, sweating profusely. "What the hell do I do now? These things don't care if you're one of them. They just want to kill, and no matter how hard I hit them, they won't die. I'll hold them off." "You run!" Li Liang yelled at Yang Ying as he charged toward the 2 zombies with the chair again, hoping she could escape. At least one of them had to survive. Yang Ying froze, clearly not expecting that the zombie would really try to save her. Li Liang, however, soon realized he couldn't hold off both zombies. In just a few moves, they had knocked him down, tearing several chunks of flesh from his body. He felt numb rather than pain. Ding! The system detects that the host is in difficulty while saving a beauty. The first reward is granted early. The system's voice echoed again. Chapter 2, You Have to Live With Me. Yang Ying could have escaped when Li Liang was struggling with the 2 zombies, but she didn't. Instead, she grabbed a chair and smashed it at one of the zombies that was biting Li Liang. The zombie stopped biting Li Liang and stood up, then charged straight at her. System reward, Zombie Dispelling Smoke. It can be used 3 times. Here's how it works. In Li Liang's mind, the system notified him of the reward and explained how to use it. Yang Ying regretted her impulsive decision to save a zombie. "What was I thinking? You need to hold your nose." Just as the 2 zombies were about to pounce on Yang Ying, Li Liang shouted. His stomach began to swell like a huge balloon. Then, with a loud bang, a green gas oozed out from behind him, quickly filling the entire office. "What is that smell?" Li Liang smelled it himself and instantly felt an overwhelming urge to die. The odor was unbearable. This smoke was effective in dispersing zombies and could save their lives in critical situations. But now, he himself was a zombie, and the smell was just as unbearable for him. The 2 zombies, who had been ferociously trying to tear Yang Ying apart, began to become agitated upon inhaling the green gas. Within a few breaths, they fell to the ground and started vomiting green matter, completely immobilized. They struggled to crawl away, but their limbs no longer obeyed them. Li Liang also felt weak. If he hadn't held his breath at the start, he feared he would be in the same condition as them. "Now is your chance. Follow me," Li Liang shouted, pressing the elevator button and signaling for Yang Ying to hurry. Yang Ying hesitated. Should she really go with this zombie? But just moments ago, he had saved her. After some internal struggle, Yang Ying walked into the elevator. In the elevator, Yang Ying stood in the corner, trying to maintain as much distance as possible from Li Liang. She gripped her hands tightly, prepared to fight if necessary. Though she didn't understand what the green gas was, it was clear it had an effect on the zombies. Maybe he could really save her. What's going on with these zombies? Are there any other survivors? Li Liang urgently wanted to understand what had happened to the world. A month ago, a small asteroid landed on Earth, and then those zombies you saw appeared. They ate everyone who didn't mutate. People have been fleeing, but it's impossible to escape. No matter where you hide, they always find you. I've been hiding here for several days now. Yang Ying's stomach growled at this point. You haven't eaten anything? Li Liang asked. Yang Ying shook her head, her pale face telling the whole story. Wait, a month ago. I never heard about this. What is the date today? Li Liang asked, confused. September 22, 2050, Yang Ying replied. 30 years later? Li Liang was stunned. How had he slept and ended up in a world 30 years into the future, facing such bizarre events? But something felt off. Even though it was 30 years later, everything was exactly the same as he remembered from last night. The elevator arrived at the ground floor, and as soon as the door opened, hundreds of zombies saw Yang Ying and swarmed toward her. Yang Ying screamed in terror. Her scream attracted even more zombies. Zombies from the other street blocks rushed over, surrounding Li Liang and Yang Ying. At that moment, the two of them were like trapped animals, waiting to be torn to pieces. This is it. What do we do now? Li Liang thought, his heart racing. All he wanted was to save a beautiful woman, and now this huge mess had happened. System, what do we do now? I can't die here. Li Liang anxiously asked. You still have 2 more uses of the dispelling smoke. The smoke spreads over a large area, enough to handle these zombies. The system replied. Li Liang was skeptical. Looking at Yang Ying, who was close to tears, he gritted his teeth. Cover your mouth and nose, and follow me. Li Liang's stomach began to swell again, even more exaggerated than before. Yang Ying stared at Li Liang in disbelief, realizing what he was about to do. She quickly covered her nose and mouth. Although the smoke had proven effective on zombies, the smell was still unbearable. Boom! With a dull sound, the green gas surged outward in waves, spreading from Li Liang's center. Wherever the gas touched, the zombies collapsed to the ground, twitching, foaming at the mouth, and writhing in agony. Run! Li Liang grabbed Yang Ying and sprinted toward the exit. At first, Yang Ying resisted, feeling awkward, but realizing that survival was the priority, she followed without hesitation. The two of them ran for several blocks, trying to outrun the zombies that were still on their tail. System, what now? I've saved her. You can't leave us to die. Li Liang asked desperately. Behind them, the zombies were still chasing. You need to live with her to gain her favor, the system replied, unhurriedly. Life together? Are you kidding me? Li Liang wanted to curse. How could Yang Ying possibly agree to live with him in his current state and gain any affection? Once you win her favor, your appearance will gradually change. Eventually. The system's explanation was cut off when Li Liang interrupted. Fine, whatever. What is the plan now? Where should we go? Li Liang was too focused on survival to care about the details. There's a 2-story house ahead. Lose the zombies, and once inside, close the door, the system instructed calmly. Li Liang was speechless. Could this really work? But there was no time to think. They ran forward and soon found the 2-story wooden house. Li Liang dragged Yang Ying inside and quickly shut the door. You're crazy. Is this just setting us up to be surrounded by zombies? Yang Ying didn't understand why Li Liang had made such a foolish decision and tried to open the door to escape. Li Liang didn't explain. He pulled her away and signaled her to stay quiet. The zombies that had been chasing them passed the house without stopping, running straight past. Only then did the two of them breathe a sigh of relief. Thank goodness the system wasn't lying, Li Liang said, feeling weak. Since he woke up, it had been one thing after another, and he was already starving. His stomach growled loudly. Yang Ying, terrified, moved away from him. She was afraid he might eat her if he got too hungry. What? What do we do now? Yang Ying asked nervously. You have to live with me, Li Liang said without thinking. I want tea. Yang Ying's face turned red with anger. She stormed to the door, trying to open it and leave, ignoring the fact that zombies were still wandering outside. Chapter 3, This is my first time too. You're going to get us both killed. Li Liang quickly grabbed Yang Ying. If they went outside now, they'd both be done for. But no matter how much she disliked him, if they were going to survive, she had to listen to him. Li Liang blocked the door with his body and stared at Yang Ying. Even though this woman had nearly cried when surrounded by zombies just a moment ago, she didn't seem particularly afraid of him. I don't want to die, but I also don't want to be with you. You're probably worse than the ones outside. Yang Ying said with conviction. Li Liang was speechless. What kind of thinking did this woman have? He had always been single and had no experience with women. How was he supposed to convince her now? System, what do I do? Li Liang asked urgently. Figure it out yourself. The system responded after a brief silence, leaving him with no further advice. All right, fine. I'll take the blame. Then tell me, why did the zombies outside stop coming once we entered this house? Li Liang asked. The zombies outside are only level 1 zombies, and they make up the majority. They lack intelligence and only chase after living, moving things. Once their target disappears from sight, they wander aimlessly. So there are higher level zombies? Li Liang asked. The system didn't respond. Li Liang waited for a while but gave up when there was no further reply. Think about it. If you go outside, you'll be torn apart, and you might even turn into one of them. Stay in the house, and I'll keep my distance, all right? Li Liang said seriously. If she didn't listen to him even after this, there was nothing more he could do. Yang Ying glanced outside, then at Li Liang. After a moment of hesitation, she said, if you try anything funny, I'll. She didn't finish the sentence but instead turned and quickly ran upstairs. Only then did Li Liang have a chance to look around the surroundings. The first floor was the living room and kitchen, and the second floor was probably the bedrooms. But since Yang Ying had gone upstairs, he didn't dare follow her. After a while, Yang Ying came back down. I've checked the structure of this house. Downstairs, like you saw, is the kitchen and living room, and upstairs are the bedrooms. But you can't go up there. I'll check the fridge for food. Later, I'm going up to rest, and you can sleep in the living room downstairs, Yang Ying said in a tone that clearly indicated she had already made the decision, with no intention of discussing it. Why should I? Don't I have any rights? Li Liang exclaimed. Look at yourself. Do you even look like a human? Yang Ying said calmly. You. Li Liang was so furious, he couldn't find the words to respond. Yang Ying grinned in triumph and walked over to the fridge. But when she opened it, she found it completely empty. Looks like we're both going hungry, Yang Ying said, holding back her hunger. There was no other choice, she didn't dare go outside to look for food. Li Liang snorted and turned around, scanning the surroundings. Suddenly, he spotted a flower pot that seemed to contain something he recognized. He walked over, turned the pot over, and sure enough, it was a potato plant. Li Liang quickly gathered several potatoes, washed them, and then went to the kitchen to fry them with the cooking oil he found. The delicious smell quickly filled the entire house. Gurgle. Yang Ying's stomach growled loudly. How did you know there were potatoes in the flower pot? Yang Ying asked in a small voice, unable to resist. Then, she added quietly, can you share some with me? Li Liang placed the cooked potatoes on the table, picked up 2, and started eating. Yang Ying walked over, feeling a little embarrassed. In the end, she stretched out her hand and grabbed one of the potatoes, eating it. So delicious. Yang Ying couldn't help but say, are you a good cook? It's my first time too. Li Liang laughed, speaking to himself. You? Yang Ying paused, clearly feeling awkward, but unlike before, she didn't get angry. In this situation, it was impossible to eat until full, so Yang Ying didn't finish the potatoes. Instead, she deliberately left 2 behind as reserves. Go rest upstairs, Li Liang said, stretching and sitting back in a chair, closing his eyes. Yang Ying looked at him with a complex expression, but didn't say anything. She simply went upstairs. I didn't expect it to be so awkward alone with a woman, Li Liang muttered once she had gone upstairs. He sighed in relief and sprawled in the chair. He was really exhausted. From waking up surrounded by zombies, to saving Yang Ying, and now this strange situation, it all felt like a dream. As the sky grew darker, the surrounding area became eerily quiet. Ding! System alert, risk is approaching. The system suddenly chimed. Li Liang jumped out of his chair and looked out the window. In the dimming light, he saw several figures slowly moving towards the house. Oh no, how could there be so many zombies? Li Liang gasped as he recognized that all of them were zombies. System, didn't you say these zombies wouldn't notice us? Li Liang asked in panic. The system remained silent. You're really messing with me now. Li Liang stomped his foot in frustration, but there was nothing he could do. The zombies had completely surrounded the house. At first, the zombies were wandering aimlessly outside. But after the sound of a whistle, all the zombies seemed to receive a signal and began heading directly towards the house. Bang! 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 The zombies in front began banging forcefully on the door. Li Liang grabbed a chair and a table, using them to brace the door and windows, trying to prevent the zombies from breaking in. The zombies are attacking us. Yarn Ying ran down at that moment, seeing Li Liang holding the door. She seemed to have something to say but held it back. The number of zombies outside was overwhelming. With their constant banging and pounding, Li Liang was struggling to hold the door. I'm so unlucky. Li Liang gritted his teeth as he held the door, knowing it wouldn't last much longer. I'll rush out and buy some time. While I'm keeping them busy, you need to escape. Don't worry about me. Li Liang shouted at Yarn Ying. He still had one more use of the dispelling smoke, but with so many zombies outside, using it all at once would likely be ineffective. Li Liang decided to give Yarn Ying a chance to escape and survive. Yarn Ying looked at Li Liang, her expression full of disbelief. Ding! System detects that the beauty has developed a favorable impression of the host. Reward issued. Just then, the system's voice sounded. Chapter for Don't Kill Him. You arrived just in time. Let me see what the reward is. Li Liang was so happy that he almost laughed. Teammate flare, fire it out, it will let a nearby teammate come to help. The system answered slowly and then asked, do you need to fire it now? Teammate. Li Liang was a little confused for a moment. Could it be that he had other companions here? Just as he hesitated, the zombies outside rammed the door even more violently. The door was pushed open a crack, and even a festering hand stretched out and grabbed things randomly. Fire quickly, quickly! Li Liang shouted loudly. Yarn Ying didn't know what Li Liang was shouting, she just thought he could not hold on any longer, so she ran down and helped him hold the door. Whoosh! With a sharp sound, a flare was shot out from the roof, like a firework in the dark night, exploding in the air and emitting a dazzling white light. The densely packed zombies outside looked somewhat creepy under the illumination of the white light, but there was no way for them to stop. Not even a single zombie raised their heads to look upwards. It's over. These are completely exposed. Li Liang thought that he was in big trouble this time. With the rising of the white light, he didn't know how many zombies would be attracted. I'm running out of strength. Angelababy said with difficulty, and she was even shaking slightly. Just like I said before, I'll lead them away and you run for your life. Li Liang grinned at Angelababy. Is it worth doing this for a woman I'm not that familiar with? He didn't know, but he had to. Boom! Just when Li Liang was about to rush out and fight those zombies, a flash of fire suddenly appeared outside the window. A blaze like a fire dragon rushed in from the outermost part of the zombie circle and wrapped several zombies in flames. During the day, Li Liang already knew that these zombies were not afraid of being injured. They could still move even if their heads were smashed. Could it be that they were afraid of fire? The zombies wrapped in flames struggled for a few times in the flames, then fell to the ground and were quickly burned to ashes. The rest of the zombies, as if out of instinct, began to hide around, very afraid of the flames. However, as soon as the zombies became chaotic, they seemed to have received some kind of instructions and began to gather together again. Even their movements were very orderly. This was completely different from the scattered and aimless wandering that Li Liang saw during the day. But now the zombies' target no longer seems to be Li Liang and Yarn Ying, but something on the opposite side. The firelight appeared again, and Li Liang took advantage of the firelight to see clearly that the person standing in the darkness opposite was a man wearing protective clothing. He had a large bottle similar to an oxygen tank on his back and something like a water gun in his hand. The fire was coming from the gun. The zombie swarm rushed directly towards the man, who did not dodge but started to spit fire. Dozens of zombies were quickly engulfed by the flames, and the battle situation was suddenly reversed. Good job, well done. Li Liang patted the door frame and shouted excitedly. This is the Human Survivor Coalition. Angelababy recognized the other party's identity. Coalition forces. Li Liang looked at Yarn Ying with some confusion. The survivors in the world have formed the Human Survivors Coalition. This is the first time I've seen real people. Angelababy explained, telling everything she knew. Most of the zombies outside fell into the sea of fire and gradually turned into ashes. Wang Cheng looked around and made sure there were no zombies, then walked towards Li Liang and the others. He seemed very cautious and approached slowly. "Hello." Angelababy saw the other person standing at the door and called out softly through the door. "Who?" Wang Cheng picked up his weapon and pointed it at the door. "Are you a human or a zombie?" "I am a human," Angelababy explained hurriedly. Li Liang originally wanted to follow Angelababy and say that he was a human being, but when he thought about his current condition, he stopped talking. "Then open the door and come out." Wang Cheng still held his weapon and did not relax his vigilance at all. Squeak! The door was pushed open and Angelababy slowly walked out. When Wang Cheng saw Yarn Ying and confirmed that the other party was a living person, he slowly put down his weapon. However, when he found that there was another person in the room, he immediately raised the weapon again. "Who's inside? Come out quickly!" Wang Cheng shouted loudly. Years of combat experience have prevented Wang Cheng from relaxing at all. Before he is sure whether the opponent is a friend or an enemy, he always remains ready to fight at any time. I am also a human being." Li Liang walked out with his head held high. "Zombies. There is one that was missed." The first time Wang Cheng saw Li Liang, he identified him as a zombie based on his appearance. He took out his weapon and was ready to shoot flames to burn Li Liang to ashes. "Don't get me wrong, I really am a human." Li Liang naturally understood what Wang Cheng wanted to do, and hurriedly explained, while also wanting to go back into their house, but it was too late. The two men were very close to each other. As long as Wang Cheng pulled the trigger and the flames shot out, Li Liang would not be able to escape at all. A figure unexpectedly stood in front of Li Liang, separating him and Wang Cheng. Angelababy. At this time, Angelababy actually used her body to protect Li Liang. "He saved me during the day, I believe him." While speaking, Yarn Ying glanced sideways at Li Liang behind her. Facing Wang Cheng, she was obviously shaking. That flame can burn zombies to death, so it can naturally burn her to death as well. She didn't know why she wanted to protect Li Liang, she only knew that this guy saved her during the day. The air seemed to freeze as the three of them stared at each other. Wang Cheng put his finger on the trigger. He wanted to pull it, but found that he couldn't do it. "Go in." Wang Cheng pointed at the house and motioned the two to go in. All three entered the house. Someone just launched a flare nearby. "Is there anyone else here?" Wang Cheng asked, but his eyes never left Li Liang, staring at him closely. "I released it," Li Liang said directly, but he secretly blamed the system in his heart. It was said that it would recruit teammates, but why did it find a guy who wanted to kill him? "You?" Wang Cheng obviously didn't believe what Li Liang said. After a moment of silence, Wang Chengcai continued, "I'm going to wait for someone to come here. I'll stay with you for a while. If this zombie behaves strangely, I can kill him right away." He said this to Angelababy. It seems that Li Liang's life and death now depends entirely on Angelababy's decision. "Are there any of your people around here?" Li Liang asked. Wang Cheng was stopped by Yarn Ying, but if another coalition force came, would they let him go? Li Liang doesn't think these people are easy to talk to. "Should I leave first? Angelababy is safe with this guy anyway." Ding, new task released, rescue the beautiful woman trapped nearby. At this moment, the system released a new character. Now is not the time to do the mission. The most important thing is to survive. Li Liang felt a little resistant and was unwilling to take this new mission. Task reward, 20% recovery of appearance. As if knowing that Li Liang was unwilling to do it, the system announced the reward in advance. "My appearance has been restored. Then I won't be so scary anymore." Li Liang's eyes lit up. "Give me more rewards, don't be so stingy, just let me restore to my handsome appearance, okay?" There was no response from the system. Okay, let's do it." Li Liang had no choice but to agree. At this moment, a weak voice came from the intercom that Wang Cheng was carrying, "Quickly leave this area." When Wang Cheng heard the voice, he immediately asked the other party about the situation, but the intercom signal was cut off. "Team leader." Wang Cheng yelled in anger and looked at Li Liang with an unfriendly look. Chapter 5, Kiss Me, It's Not Cheating. "It's all because of you damn zombies." Wang Cheng seemed very angry, if anything happens to the captain, I will never let you go. Are you crazy? What does it have to do with me? Li Liang felt a little puzzled and fought back bluntly. He had now recovered some of his appearance, but he could no longer accept being called a zombie. Bastard! Wang Cheng cursed again and took off the helmet he had been wearing, revealing his true face. He looked like he was probably only 17 or 18 years old. There was a hint of toughness on his young face. I have to set off immediately to rescue my captain. You can follow me or choose to stay. But this place has been exposed, and I'm afraid that zombies will be here soon. Wang Cheng took a few deep breaths, put on his helmet again, and prepared to set off. Li Liang and Yang Ying looked at each other, and they both followed Wang Cheng at the same time. As soon as the three of them walked out of the door, hundreds of zombies appeared at the intersections on both sides of the street, densely packed and quickly walking towards them. It's coming so fast. Wang Chengdang raised the rifle in his hand and sprayed flames at the zombie closest to him. Flames were everywhere, and there were flames on both sides. Zombies kept falling down in the flames and turned into ashes, but new zombies kept coming from behind, as if they could never be killed all. Damn it, how could it attract a group of zombies? Wang Cheng muttered, thinking to himself that something was wrong. There is not much energy left in the energy tank on his back, and he won't be able to hold out for much longer. If he can't break out quickly, the situation will only become more and more dangerous. Find a way to escape. Wang Cheng shouted. Li Liang looked around and saw zombies everywhere. Where could he escape to? Do you have any more weapons? Li Liang asked. Wang Cheng couldn't be killed alone, so he had to fight as well. Wang Cheng threw a dagger to Li Liang. There was a mark engraved on the dagger, which was 3 hands in yellow, white and black, holding each other's wrists, forming a triangle. Li Liang took the dagger and stabbed at the zombie closest to him. The dagger was surprisingly sharp and it could cut bones like cutting melons. He knocked one down in one go. After trying a few times, Li Liang was already able to fight with the dagger very smoothly. They killed batches of zombies that rushed over, but new batches of zombies kept coming. Something is wrong. There must be a Class B nearby, commanding these guys. Wang Cheng shouted loudly, his eyes constantly looking around, and finally locked onto a corner in the distance. There seemed to be something in the shadow, but he couldn't see what it looked like. We must kill that B level 1 before we can escape, otherwise we will never be able to kill all these zombies. Wang Cheng shouted, but at this time, the flame emitted by the weapon in his hand had obviously weakened a lot, and it wouldn't be long before he could hold on any longer. Li Liang also realized the urgency of time. Although his body is now somewhat similar to that of a zombie, he cannot fight without rest. He can already feel that his hands are somewhat out of control. Is it okay as long as we kill that thing? Li Liang asked. Wang Cheng nodded affirmatively. Okay. I'll create a chance for you. After Li Liang said this, his stomach suddenly swelled up. A green smoke came out directly from his body and spread around. All the zombies who smelled the smoke fell to the ground. Take advantage of now, quickly. Li Liang used the last zombie to disperse the smoke and create an opportunity for Wang Cheng. At this time, almost all the obstacles between them and the B-level zombie were knocked down. Okay. Wang Cheng also realized that this was a rare opportunity and prepared to rush over. But at this moment, there was a puff sound from the gun in his hand, and the flame went out immediately. Damn it, the energy is exhausted. Wang Cheng tried a few times, but he really couldn't produce any fire. At this moment, new zombies rushed in and directly filled the previous position and surrounded them. Retreat back to their house. Li Liang shouted loudly. Without the power of the flamethrower, the three of them were facing a mountain of zombies. It was like a meat bun hitting a dog. Wang Cheng was still a little unwilling, so Li Liang pulled him and dragged him back into their house. But they won't be able to continue like this for long. It's only a matter of time before the entire building is demolished by these zombies. What should we do now? Angelababy looked at the zombies pouring in outside with some horror. Li Liang looked outside, then looked at Angelababy, and came up with an idea, so he walked straight up to Angelababy. Give me a kiss. Angelababy didn't react immediately and didn't know how to respond to Li Liang's sudden request. Par. Yang Ying slapped Li Liang in the face. You filthy bastard. You misunderstood me. Li Liang felt a very strange feeling on his face. It wasn't painful, but like being blown by the wind. If you want to live, you have to believe me, Li Liang said loudly. If this stupid woman was any later, it would be too late. Angelababy was stunned for a moment. Wang Cheng held the door tightly and looked at Li Liang with disgust, thinking that this guy was still so lustful even in this state. Dang dang dang. The door was constantly banging against each other and Wang Cheng obviously couldn't take it anymore. Hurry up. Li Liang was speechless. If this method didn't work, he would have no choice but to rush out and fight with all his might. After hesitating, Angelababy finally made a decision. She closed her eyes, as if she mustered up a lot of courage, and moved her face closer to Li Liang. Li Liang didn't have time to be polite, so he just put his face close to her and happened to touch Angelababy's lips. The other person quickly stepped back and turned around, as if he couldn't believe that he had actually kissed Li Liang in this state. Ding! The system detects that the beauty's affection for the host has increased, and rewards are being issued. The system's voice sounded again. This operation really works. Li Liang almost jumped up with excitement. System reward, one directional movement within 100 meters. Function description, the host can be teleported to any location within a 100-meter range. The system explained. Hey, system, oh system, don't blame me for cheating. I have no choice but to do this. Li Liang laughed secretly in his heart and looked outside at the same time, 100 meters. That should be enough. He held the dagger tightly in his hand and activated the teleportation opportunity. Get out of the way. Li Liang pushed Wang Cheng away and rushed directly outside, but was soon surrounded by a group of zombies. Don't go. Yang Ying shouted loudly, but Li Liang was nowhere to be seen. At this time, Li Liang had been teleported to a corner far away, and standing in front of him was something that was completely unfamiliar to him. This should be a zombie, but it looks different from other zombies. There are no rotten patches on this guy's body. His head looks a little long, similar to an oval, with a pair of small eyes, and the whites of his eyes are pitch black. His height is about the same as that of a normal person, but his limbs are very strong and the hair on his body is very thick, like a savage. This B-level zombie was holding a bone with several small holes on it. It seemed that it was using the bone to play some kind of tune to control other zombies. Only by killing you can we survive. Li Liang rushed towards the opponent with the dagger in his hand. Chapter 6. The captain is a beauty. The B-level zombie immediately picked up the bone in his hand, put it to his mouth and started blowing. A strange sound was heard. It was very low, like the growl of some wild animal. When Li Liang heard the sound, he just thought it was unpleasant and had no other reaction. Die. He swung the knife. The B-class zombie obviously didn't expect that this trick would have no effect on Li Liang. Seeing that the dagger was about to stab itself, it hurriedly dodged and started blowing in its mouth again, with the sound becoming noticeably louder. The group of zombies that were originally besieging Wang Cheng and his team received new instructions after hearing this voice. They turned around in unison and rushed towards Li Liang. We have to hurry. Li Liang knew that the longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. He gripped the dagger tightly and rushed towards the B-level zombie. The opponent was also unlucky. After dodging several times, he actually ran into the corner with no way to retreat. Crack. With a crisp sound, Li Liang took the opportunity to stab the dagger into the opponent's chest. Green body fluids flowed out, emitting a foul odor. At the same time, the group of zombies that pounced over were like flies smelling rotten meat. The originally neat group began to become messy and let out roars. Li Liang quickly threw the B-level zombie away and hid aside, ready to fight again at any time. But the zombies that came over ignored Li Liang. They rushed towards the bodies of the B-level zombies like hungry wolves and started to eat them. The scene was more disgusting than bloody, as any body parts would be snatched up like crazy. A zombie finally managed to snatch a small piece of meat, but before he could swallow it, another zombie pounced on it on the ground, forcibly pulled it out of its mouth and snatched it away. Seeing that these zombies had gone completely crazy, Li Liang quickly ran back. The meat of B-level zombies is a delicacy to these lowest-level zombies. Wang Cheng seemed to have seen this kind of scene before, but there was no surprise on his face. We'd better leave quickly, otherwise more zombies may be attracted here. Angelababy turned her face away and felt like vomiting. Ding! The system detects that the host has successfully killed a higher-level zombie for the first time, and received a special reward, body strengthening, which can effectively resist damage caused by physical attacks. The system's voice sounded again. What is this reward? Li Liang was trying to figure out how to use the reward, but Wang Cheng had already started to act. Yan Ying glared at Li Liang and motioned him to catch up, so Li Liang didn't ask any more questions. The three of them quickly crossed several blocks and encountered some scattered zombies from time to time. Li Liang and Wang Cheng would actively choose to avoid them. If they were discovered by the other party and there were not many zombies chasing them, they would kill them. During this fight, Li Liang also mastered the skills to kill A-level zombies. He directly chopped off their heads with a dagger and then stabbed their hearts. This will completely make the zombies lose their ability to move. Angelababy also felt nauseous and wanted to vomit when she first saw these scenes, but later she gradually got used to them, or became numb to them. After traveling for most of the day, the three of them arrived at an abandoned school. The campus looked very empty, with a huge circular stadium, a white 3-story building, and a red dormitory building in the distance. There was no one on campus, not even a flying bird. If you look closely, you will find that there are obvious traces of footsteps on the grass on the court. Wang Cheng looked at the communication device in his hand. The signal he had received before was sent from here. The captain must be inside. Wang Cheng pointed to the school. This place has become like this. Angelababy looked at the school with a complicated expression. Are you familiar with this? Wang Cheng asked, while checking his remaining equipment. This is my alma mater. Yan Ying looked unhappy and felt bad. Are we sure we want to go in? Li Liang looked at the empty campus and the cold house, and felt a chill on the back of his neck. His intuition told him not to go. Wang Cheng didn't answer, but walked straight in. If you're afraid, just wait for us here. Li Liang looked at Yan Ying, not wanting her to go in and get into danger. Perhaps, it will be safer to be with you guys. If I encounter zombies alone outside, it won't be a question of whether I'm afraid or not. Angelababy rolled her eyes at Li Liang. Knowing his good intentions, her tone was not as cold as before. The three of them walked to the middle of the court. At this point, they were almost at the center of the entire school. If there were ambushes around them, they would be directly exposed to the enemy's eyes. Go away, don't come back. At this moment, a sound came from the communicator in Wang Cheng's hand again. This time their voice was very clear, and it was the voice of a girl. Captain, don't be afraid, I'm here to save you. When Wang Cheng heard this voice, he became excited and looked around in panic, but found nothing. Hey, hey, hey. Can you use some brains? Li Liang quickly said to Wang Cheng, this is a trap. It's so obvious. Don't you really understand? Wang Cheng didn't say anything, but stared at Li Liang. I felt strange the first time you received the message. If your captain was really in danger, why would he send you a signal and tell you not to come? Now you receive another signal, still telling you to leave quickly. Don't you understand that someone, or something, is deliberately luring you here? Li Liang looked around vigilantly. To put it bluntly, the entire campus is a trap. The captain is the bait, and Wang Cheng, and even the three of them, are the prey. So who set the trap and who is their hunter? Wang Cheng gritted his teeth and took a few steps forward. Don't I know? But there's no way I won't come to save my captain. Wang Cheng sighed. In his opinion, those who abandoned their companions were worse than garbage. He approved of Wang Cheng's approach, but was also worried about their current situation. Since this is your alma mater, if it were you, where would you hide someone? Seeing that it was impossible to persuade Wang Cheng to leave, Li Liang asked Yan Ying. Yan Ying thought for a while and suddenly pointed to the teaching building. There is a small courtyard behind the teaching building. You can't see it from the outside. You have to go in to see it. It's very hidden. You walk among us and go take a look. Li Liang walked behind Yan Ying with a dagger in his hand, while Wang Cheng walked in front. He touched the jar on his back, and it was unknown what he was preparing. The three of them walked into the teaching building. On the white tiles, there were dark blood stains, straight lines, and some handprints and scratches. It was obvious that there had been a massacre here. It was daytime, but the sunlight seemed a little pale. It's right inside. Yan Ying pointed to the corner, and an empty small courtyard appeared in front of them. The courtyard was surrounded by teaching buildings on 3 sides, and a high wall on the last side. Li Liang looked up and saw that the windows of the teaching building were pitch black. He really wanted to leave here quickly. There seemed to be a person sitting at the innermost part of the courtyard. The other person was wearing the same clothes as Wang Cheng, but the clothes were full of holes, and the skin was exposed in some places. Captain! Wang Cheng rushed over, squatted down and tried to help the other person up. Li Liang then saw clearly that the captain was actually a woman in her 20s. However, at this time, the other person had a head of black hair that was scattered and covered her face. But even so, Li Liang could see that she was an absolute beauty. Hurry, run away. Lu Xingnan said weakly. Blood was oozing from her body. It seemed that speaking had used up her last bit of strength. Ding! Mission triggered, the host has met the second beauty to be rescued. The system's voice suddenly rang out. Before Li Liang could react, he heard heavy footsteps behind him. Chapter 7 Hunting. 2 figures, or to be more precise, 3 figures slowly crawled in from outside. You guys run away. Lu Xingnan shouted, her face showing both anger and grief. She fainted in excitement. 2 B-level zombies walked in, carrying a broken corpse. These 2 zombies looked basically the same as the one Li Liang had killed before, except that they were much taller. One of them had an iron glove on his arm, and the other held a machete in his hand. The one holding the machete was carrying the broken corpse in his other hand. The corpse was wearing the same clothes as Wang Cheng, so he seemed to be a coalition soldier as well. Bastards, I will kill you. Wang Cheng was so excited when he saw this scene that he almost rushed out. Li Liang grabbed him. The other party was not in a hurry to attack. The B-level zombie wearing gloves took out a communicator, which slowly played the voice that warned them not to come over. This is a trap, waiting to devour the soldiers who come to rescue. Compared to Wang Cheng's excitement, Li Liang is now thinking more about how to survive. It seems that B-level zombies will also adopt different action strategies due to the differences in individuals. For example, the previous one likes to command a group of low-level zombies to attack in groups, and these 2 seem to be a bit like lone wolves. Roar! The B-level zombie wearing gloves roared and took the lead in attacking the 3 people. It rushed over like a ferocious beast, stretched out its iron gloves, and grabbed Wang Cheng. Perhaps in its eyes, only Wang Cheng is worthy of being its prey. Wang Cheng raised his musket, but no flames were emitted, and no one knew what he was trying to do. The gloved Class B zombie stopped about 2 meters away from Wang Cheng. The 2 sides were in a stalemate. Good opportunity. Li Liang took advantage of this opportunity, picked up the dagger, and tried to sneak attack the gloved B-level zombie from behind. However, the other party reacted immediately, turned around and hammered Li Liang. Collapse. With a dull thud, Li Liang was hit hard in the chest. Even though he was in zombie state now, the force of this blow was enough to make a hole in his chest. I was careless. Li Liang smiled bitterly. Or maybe I don't have enough combat experience. I originally wanted to launch a sneak attack, but now I'm afraid I'm doomed. Huh. How come nothing happened? There was a tickling feeling in my chest. It's physical strengthening. Li Liang immediately thought of the reward given by the system before. Har har. Li Liang laughed and continued to stab the other party with the dagger in his hand. With just a scratch, a cut was made on the opponent's neck. Good opportunity. Wang Cheng seized the opportunity and shot a line of fire from the flamethrower directly into the zombie's wound. The zombie was originally angry and wanted to attack, but after moving a few times, it fell directly to the ground. Its body gradually turned black and emitted black smoke. Then its body carbonized and turned into a pile of ashes. Solved one easily. Li Liang was happy and was about to praise Wang Cheng, but he saw Wang Cheng put away the flamethrower in his hand, took out a dagger, and wanted to fight. It seems that the move just now can only be used once. The remaining zombie saw his companion being killed like this, and he was so angry that he screamed wildly, threw the remaining corpse in his hand aside, and rushed forward waving the machete in his hand. Let me do it. Li Liang had the experience just now and was not afraid of the opponent at all. He directly stood between it and Wang Cheng. Anyway, my body has been strengthened, so I am not afraid of being beaten. You can hit me as much as you want. I am not afraid. He was fully intending to engage in hand-to-hand combat, so he rushed towards the zombies with the dagger tightly in his hand. The zombie swung the machete in his hand and slashed towards Li Liang's chest. This time, Li Liang didn't even want to dodge, it didn't matter anyway. Click. What got cut? He lowered his head to look at his chest. The machete had penetrated about 1 or 2 centimeters into his flesh. The blood flowed out and he only felt a tingling sensation. He knew he was cut, but he didn't feel any pain. The knife was slowly pulled out of the wound, and Li Liang felt as if something was sliding over his body, but he didn't feel anything. When the feeling stopped, his whole body suddenly became unstable. Just that one blow directly broke several of his ribs. System, you tricked me. Li Liang was speechless and tried hard not to fall down. It seems that I have misunderstood. Physical strengthening can resist blows but not hacking. I'll drag it, you guys run away. Li Liang yelled and rushed over with all his strength, trying to hug the other party and buy time for Yarn Ying and the others. The B-level zombie would not give him this opportunity and chopped him down again. This time, it was going to chop off his head directly. When? There was a sharp metallic sound. Wang Cheng had already rushed over, hugged the zombie's waist tightly, and turned his back to the zombie. The knife just now happened to hit the pipe on his back. Take the captain out, quickly, or we will all die. Wang Cheng was shouting, and as he was shouting, the zombie's knife had already chopped down on him. He was injured and blood spurted out of his mouth. Quick! Li Liang felt as if something was stuck in his throat and he couldn't speak. Life and death are decided in just a few seconds. Walk! Li Liang shouted at Yarn Ying, stopping the already frightened Yarn Ying. He forced himself to go over and together with Yarn Ying, pulled Lu Xingnan up and ran outside. No one has the qualifications to be a mother-in-law now. This time was bought by Wang Cheng with his life. Har har. Wang Cheng started laughing when he saw Li Liang and the others pulling Lu Xingnan away. This laughter can be said to be a little crazy. Bang! A heat wave came out from the small garden, and the flames directly broke through the teaching building. At this time, Li Liang and the others had already run to the playground. Seeing the fire, he understood Wang Cheng's intention of asking them to leave quickly. Wang Cheng activated the energy tank on his back, and the flames engulfed him and the zombies. Only by doing this could he save Li Liang and the other three. Li Liang wanted to say something, or at least yell, but he couldn't do it. His body fell to the ground uncontrollably. He and Wang Cheng had known each other for less than a day, and during that day, they experienced life and death together. In this world, death may not come later than breathing. If I hadn't been so careless, would things have turned out differently? A feeling of blaming myself came over me. Are you okay? Yarn Ying looked at Li Liang and asked. She didn't help him up, nor did she ask if he was seriously injured, because none of that mattered. The key was to stay alive. Or maybe she didn't know how to express it. Was she caring about a person, or a zombie? Lu Xingnan, who was lying on the ground, opened her eyes slightly at this time. She glanced at Li Liang beside her. When her eyes rested on the dagger still tightly held in Li Liang's hand, she pounced directly at Li Liang. Chapter 8: The Last Stronghold. Could it be that this woman also thinks of herself as a zombie? Li Liang wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Lu Xingnan grabbed Li Liang's wrist tightly and tried to snatch the dagger. If you want it, I'll give it to you. But let me make it clear first, you can't do anything rash. Li Liang said to Lu Xingnan. He had no problem fighting zombies, but he couldn't fight a woman who was already seriously injured. The key is that the other person is so beautiful. Li Liang slowly loosened his hand and moved back, guarding against Lu Xingnan attacking him after getting the dagger. However, Lu Xingnan did not do as Li Liang imagined. Instead, she pressed hard on a protrusion at the end of the dagger with her fingers, and a small metal ball came out. Then a ray of light was emitted, forming a screen like an open paper fan, on which a map was displayed. On the map, there was a striking red dot, and the 4 guys from Hope Villa appeared. Go to this place quickly. All the survivors in this city have been transferred here. Go quickly, otherwise it will be too late. After saying this, Lu Xingnan fainted again. She's lost too much blood and is very weak. Yang Ying trotted over and seeing Lu Xingnan's defeated face, she could only hug her, hoping to keep her warm. We must find a place to treat her as soon as possible, otherwise, it will be difficult for her to survive. Yang Ying stared at Li Liang, meaning that she wanted Li Liang to find a solution. Ding! The mission of rescuing the second beauty is completed, rewards are issued, and physical strengthening is further enhanced. The system's voice suddenly sounded. Physical enhancement again. Do you know that this physical enhancement of yours almost killed me? Li Liang cursed in his heart, but he also knew that it was not right to blame the system entirely. If he had been more cautious, the situation might be different now. Ding! The system will issue an extra reward, restoring the appearance to 40%. The host can choose the main part to be restored. The system's voice sounded again, still without emotion, but with a special meaning, as if in some special circumstances, Li Liang could complain and get some unexpected benefits. Appearance, of course, depends on the face. What's wrong with your face? Angelababy looked at Li Liang in surprise, only to see that the patches on his face quickly disappeared. At this moment, his face was no different from that of a normal person, except that he looked very haggard, like someone who had suffered a serious illness. Li Liang quickly changed the subject. Can you find that place? I know where it is, but it's a bit far away. Angelababy said with some concern. Without saying a word, Li Liang picked up Lu Xingnan and walked outside. The only way to save her is to rush over as soon as possible. The two of them set off quickly. Hope Villa is located on the edge of the city, dozens of kilometers away from Li Liang and his classmates' school. It would take several days to get there by walking. The two walked outside for a while and found an abandoned car. The window glass was broken, and there was black blood on the door and the ground. The person who was driving the car must have been attacked by zombies and was dragged out and eaten alive. Li Liang walked to the car door and found the car key was still in it. He quickly handed Lu Xingnan to Angelababy, got into the car and tried to start it. Ka. The car started, the fuel gauge light came on, and there was not much gas left. Come in quickly, drive as far as you can. Li Liang called out to Angelababy excitedly. The three of them drove a car towards Hope Villa. They encountered many zombies on the way. Li Liang either chose to avoid them or directly crash into them, trying his best to leave the area. After going through so much trouble over and over again, they finally arrived at the location marked on the map. At this time, the gasoline had also run out. What appeared before their eyes was not a villa at all, but an abandoned manor. The towering walls were covered with rusty iron wires, a large iron gate was tightly closed, and a dilapidated orange-yellow building looked somewhat eye-catching. There are some fruit trees planted in the manor, and there seem to be some unripe fruits hanging on them. Unlike other places, there are birds flying around here from time to time. Is there anyone here? Li Liang got out of the car with some doubts, and walked around the iron gate several times, trying to see the situation inside clearly, but he found nothing. Be careful! Angelababy suddenly shouted in the car. Li Liang then raised his head and saw a black object flying out from somewhere and hitting him directly. He quickly dodged it. It was a beer bottle, which seemed to contain some liquid. There was a piece of cotton cloth on the bottle, and black smoke was coming out. Not good. After seeing the thing clearly, Li Liang ran directly towards the car, turned around, turned his back to the bottle, and used his body to protect the car window. Collapse. With a dull thud, the beer bottle exploded. A small flame accompanied by black smoke came out, and countless broken glass was shot out like bullets. The broken glass pierced Li Liang's back directly. Some small pieces were bounced off, but a few sharp pieces still pierced his back. Who on earth is attacking us? Li Liang gritted his teeth. The pain in his back made him feel a little uncomfortable. But he was also curious. He didn't feel any pain when he was cut before, so why did he feel pain now? Could it be that as his appearance recovered, his sense of pain also recovered? Thinking of this, he lowered his head to look at the parts of his body that had been cut before. They had already healed. It should have healed automatically after his body was strengthened. But if he slowly regained his intuition, would he faint directly when faced with such a serious injury in the future? These thoughts just flashed through his mind. The most important thing now was to figure out what was going on with this beer bottle. Li Liang breathed a sigh of relief only after the explosion. Angelababy also got out of the car and took the initiative to help him remove the glass fragments on his back. Thanks. Li Liang thanked him, then walked to the front door and shouted, "Is there anyone alive inside? If so, please let us in." The coalition soldiers asked us to come. There was no response from the manor. After a long while, the iron door creaked and slowly opened a crack. Help her and follow me. Li Liang took a step forward, past the iron gate and walked towards the manor. The door would not open for no reason. The degree of opening was just enough for one person to pass through. This showed that there was indeed someone in the manor, and he was controlling the door. The beer bottle just now was also thrown by the other party. But why does this place appear to be an abandoned building with no one in it? Li Liang tried to take a few steps inside again. Stop! A rather rough voice came from the dilapidated building, and then a sturdy-looking young man walked out cautiously from the darkness. After repeatedly confirming that only Li Liang and his two companions came, he walked out completely. Xiongwu looked at Li Liang vigilantly. No one had been here for a long time. He needed to figure out whether Li Liang and the other two were friends or enemies. I've already said that it was the Alliance soldiers who asked us to come here. This injured woman is the captain of the Alliance. While Li Liang was speaking, Yarn Ying had already helped Lu Xingnan over. Only when he saw Lu Xingnan's clothes did Xiongwu relax his guard a little. I don't know what captain she is, but she is indeed wearing a soldier's uniform. Well, come in. Xiongwu waved his hand, motioning Li Liang and the others to come over. Wait! A somewhat shrill voice suddenly rang out, and then a thin man jumped out and stood beside Xiongwu like a monkey, but he was a little further back, deliberately guarding against Li Liang. The boss said that we are not allowed to bring them in directly. Remember, check whether they have any weapons first. Dao Yin commanded Xiongwu with some pride. But there is a warrior among them. Xiongwu was obviously unwilling to follow Dao Yin's arrangements. He had great respect for the Alliance warriors. How dare you disobey? Dao Yin said angrily, believe it or not, I will report you to the boss and punish you. Whatever you want. Xiongwu did not give in, but walked towards Li Liang and the others. Follow me, I see this female soldier is injured, she needs to be treated quickly. Asshole, I think you're itching for trouble. Dao Yin yelled, looking extremely angry, but he didn't dare to come over to stop him. Li Liang gave Dao Yin a look, then took Yarn Ying and the others and walked towards the back with Xiongwu. Chapter 9, Hit Someone in the Face. It seems that there is still someone who claims to be the king of this place. Li Liang said jokingly. Dao Yin looks like a vicious dog at best, the kind that doesn't dare to bite people. The boss he mentioned is the one Li Liang cares about most. Wherever there are people, there is the underworld. He doesn't want to cause trouble, but he is not afraid of it either. Under the leadership of Xiongwu, the three came to the entrance of the garage, which was also sealed tightly by a large iron door. Xiongwu shouted, and the door creaked open. Come in. Xiongwu walked in first. This was originally a parking garage, but was converted into a temporary residence. Since there was no electricity, the ventilation equipment had stopped working, so the air inside seemed a bit pungent. In the garage, there were a few candles burning sporadically, and some figures slowly appeared in front of Li Liang. Everyone come and help, this soldier is injured and must be treated quickly. Xiongwu shouted. Several women came over and helped Yarn Ying put Lu Xingnan on a bed, and then someone brought some clean cloths and began to wipe her body. She has lost too much blood. If there are not enough medicines here, don't touch her wound to avoid causing secondary damage. Give her some food and water to replenish her energy. Angela Baby obviously knows more about medical rescue than these people. Several people looked embarrassed. What? Is there nothing here? Li Liang asked anxiously. Food and water are rationed to everyone. Without Gu Feng's consent, you can't get them. A woman gritted her teeth and said with some embarrassment. While she was speaking, the person next to her touched her with her hand, signaling her not to talk nonsense. Who is this Gu Feng? Why does he scare you so much? Li Liang thought of the guy named Dao Yin just now. Could it be that Gu Feng is the boss he was talking about? It's okay, I'll get it. Xiongwu didn't think much about it and walked straight up the stairs next to him. Li Liang and Yarn Ying sat down next to Lu Xingnan's bed. The atmosphere suddenly became a little depressing and no one spoke. I don't know what happened here and why these people are so afraid of Gu Feng. Yarn Ying whispered to Li Liang. She observed that there were about 100 people in the entire garage. Most of them were young and middle-aged people, and they all looked very thin. But this also reflected a fact from the side, that is, the elderly, the weak, the sick and the disabled may have been killed on the way here. Those who can see it are actually those who survived by chance. Here is some water, give it to her. The woman who had just spoken to them walked over quietly and handed Yarn Ying a bottle with a small amount of clean water in it. Thank you. Angela Baby took it and gave it to Lu Xingnan to drink. What's going on here? It seems like everyone is afraid of that guy called Gu Feng. Yarn Ying asked softly, trying to keep her voice as low as possible. In fact, Gufeng, like us, fled here to wait for rescue, but the Alliance soldiers haven't come for a long time, and we were all very scared. One day, Gufeng suddenly said that he had received news from the coalition forces and wanted him to lead us. Later, he concentrated all the supplies in his hands and distributed food and water to everyone according to a daily quota. Obedient people could get more, and disobedient people would get nothing. In this way, no one dared to disobey him. The woman was very nervous when she spoke, fearing that her words would be heard by others. But the garage downstairs was not well ventilated, and it was so quiet all around that even if the woman spoke in a low voice, the people around her could hear it, but they all kept their heads down and kept silent. It turned out that he was a despicable guy who took advantage of the situation to gather resources and used the resources to blackmail everyone. Li Liang immediately understood what was going on. Just at this time, Xiongwu walked down, looking a little embarrassed. Behind him was Dao Yin. Compared to Xiongwu, Dao Yin looked a little arrogant. "Hey, newcomers, the boss wants you two to go up and see him. Hurry up." Dao Yin put his hands on his waist, becoming more and more proud as he spoke, and his voice was very loud. Compared to the silence of the others, his appearance was particularly eye-catching. Li Liang and Yarn Ying both stood up and walked over. "This girl is pretty good." Dao Yin stared at Yarn Ying. Just as he finished speaking, he heard a loud slap. Li Liang slapped him hard in the face. He almost couldn't stand. He took several steps back and held onto the wall to avoid falling. "You dare to hit me?" Obviously, Dao Yin didn't expect Li Liang to slap him right away, and directly on the face, without considering his feelings at all. "I think you are used to being treated like a dog by others. Shut up. If you continue talking, I will knock out your teeth," Li Liang said bluntly. "There is no need to be polite to these minions. Use fighting instead of talking, otherwise it will be a waste of time." The people here were frightened step by that ancient custom, and thought that there was no other way but to be tolerant, which is why they gradually became like this. Grasp the key resources, and then make the other party surrender step by step. This routine is too familiar to Li Liang, who often reads online novels. "You really dare to do it?" Angelababy smiled at the side and did not stop him, nor did she confirm it. "Let's go up and see what that guy named Ji Yufeng looks like." Li Liang went up first. Xiongwu didn't say anything, but followed Li Liang directly, and Yarn Ying also followed. Dao Yin touched his still hot face and followed behind from a distance, his eyes full of ferocity and malice. The stairs lead directly to the small building above. From the outside, the building seems abandoned, but the facilities inside are still intact, and you can see everything happening outside from inside. "Here I come." A standard Mandarin voice, with a hint of Beijing accent, came from the largest room on the second floor. Li Liang walked straight over and opened the door. A middle-aged man was smoking a cigarette with great enjoyment. There were several young men standing in his room, ready to take his orders at any time. When he saw Li Liang suddenly walk in, he was startled at first, but quickly calmed down. "Are you the newcomer?" Ji Yufeng said with a smile. If Li Liang had not known about his actions in advance, he might have mistakenly believed that the man in front of him was a harmless good person. "Just tell me what you want to do and don't waste my time." Li Liang smiled. This kind of guy was exactly the type he hated the most. He said one thing and meant another, and was full of bad intentions. Okay. You just arrived and don't know the situation. I have been ordered by the Alliance to manage this place, so you have to listen to me and obey the arrangements. Collect the necessary daily necessities every day. Of course, I think you still have some ability, so I can consider giving you more." Ji Yufeng saw that Li Liang was a tough guy, so he didn't talk too much like Dao Yin did before. "Boss, kick them out. He just hit me." Dao Yin covered his face and ran over with a wronged look on his face. "Oh." Ji Yufeng didn't expect Li Liang to have already taken action. He looked a little unhappy, but he still said with a smile, "It must be a misunderstanding. You just came here and don't understand the situation. There are hundreds of people here who rely on me to survive. I have rules for what I say and do." "Har har." Li Liang suddenly laughed out loud. "Keep pretending." Ji Yufeng's face turned ugly. Although everyone here knew that he was hypocritical, and he also knew that everyone knew that he was hypocritical, this did not stop him from continuing to be hypocritical. But Li Liang refused to cooperate with him in acting. What should he do? "It seems that you are not suitable to stay here. Ji Yufeng said to Dao Yin with a bad look, please ask them to leave here. We don't have much food and can't afford to feed disobedient people. At the same time, he looked at Xiongwu and signaled Xiongwu to take action. But they brought a wounded alliance soldier with them. Xiongwu said with some embarrassment. Shut up. Hurry up. Ji Yufeng threw the cigarette, but in his hand, he had no patience anymore. Several young men around Ji Yufeng wanted to take action, but were stopped by Xiongwu's unfriendly look. Dao Yin was hiding aside. Having just been slapped by Li Liang, he really didn't have the courage to take the first step. You useless people, why should I support you? Ji Yufeng was furious when he found that he couldn't command his men. He began to coerce and bribe them. If anyone listens to me, I will ensure that he has enough to eat every day and I can also give him a woman. This seems very tempting. These young men are full of vigor and vitality. They have enough food and drink and women. The most important dream in life is about to come true. Do you want to do it? Par. With two clear sounds, Li Liang quickly came to Ji Yufeng and slapped him twice, knocking him unconscious. You are not afraid of fighting zombies, so why are you afraid of such a despicable person? Chapter 10 Life as it was. You dare to hit me? Ji Yufeng obviously didn't expect that he would be beaten, and he didn't dare to get angry. At this time, Li Liang was too close to him, and he could clearly see that Li Liang was holding a dagger in his hand. Do you know the consequences? I can be delegated by the alliance. Ji Yufeng gritted his teeth and forced out these words. Har har. Li Liang laughed. If his current condition did not allow it, he would have laughed to tears. I don't care whether what you said is true or false, it makes no difference to me. If you have the guts, ask the people in the alliance to help you. When dealing with liars and scoundrels, reasoning is the most useless method. Wouldn't it be nice to just knock them down? You? Ji Yufeng's face turned pale, but it was obvious that his expression was no longer firm, and he looked wilted in the slightest. This change was seen by everyone present, so naturally no one would be willing to listen to him anymore. Okay, just stand aside and I will tell you the story. If you are not convinced, you can ask me about this knife. As Li Liang spoke, he used the dagger to cut hard on the corner of the table. The wooden corner of the table was cut off like tofu. Someone sighed. Someone stepped back. The ones with the most interesting expressions were Ji Yufeng and Dao Yin. They were really scared. How much food and fresh water do we have now? Immediately distribute enough to everyone so that everyone can have enough to eat. Li Liang said to Xiongwu. Xiongwu is not a bad person by nature, he is just too honest and is easily fooled by people like Ji Yufeng and Dao Yin. Good. Xiongwu was very happy and immediately followed Li Liang's instructions and led people to distribute food and water to everyone. If you do this, the food will be consumed quickly. We don't have enough food to feed everyone. You are harming everyone. Ji Yufeng said in a low voice, holding his breath. I know, but at least we have enough to eat now. Li Liang didn't think of letting everyone stay in this basement forever. This was impossible. Hundreds of people gathered together, not producing anything, but only consuming. No matter how much supplies there were, they would eventually run out. The daily quota method adopted in ancient times was to let everyone else go hungry except for himself and a few others. That day might come later, but it was inevitable. What he needs to do is to get everyone out of here alive. You did a good job. Angelababy suddenly spoke and praised Li Liang. Ding! The system detects that the first beauty's favor towards their host has increased, so a reward is issued. Reward 1, Body Strengthening, which can effectively make you immune to physical damage, such as hammering and heavy blows, and can also have a certain effect on damage from sharp weapons. Reward 2, Appearance is restored to 60%. Which one would the host like to choose? The system's voice suddenly sounded again. Can I choose one of the two? Then I choose all, okay? Li Liang pondered in his mind, but the system did not answer him. It was obviously impossible to take them all. I choose physical strengthening. Li Liang finally made a choice. He is no longer the zombie he was at the beginning, and people around him can accept him as he is now. There is not much point in restoring his appearance. On the contrary, he just dealt with Ji Yufeng and Dao Yin, and there is no guarantee that these two guys will attack him behind his back. It is safer to enhance his own abilities. Ding, reward with method, physical strengthening is further strengthened. Li Liang also summed up some experience at this time. He could only get rewards when the beauties recognized by the system had a stronger affection for him or made intimate actions towards him. As for the rest of the women, whether they were good or bad to him, the system didn't care at all. All were provided with an adequate supply of food and fresh water. Everyone looked like they had been hungry for a long time, eating food in big mouthfuls and drinking water. Although the food was not rich, their faces showed a sense of satisfaction that they had not seen for a long time. Thank you. In the garage, the woman who had been talking quietly to Li Liang before came over with gratitude and thanked Li Liang and Yang Ying, who were taking care of Lu Xingnan. Hiding behind her was a little girl with 2 pigtails, about 4 or 5 years old. The little girl's clothes were a little worn, but her face was clean. She stared at Angelababy with a pair of dark eyes, and no one knew what she was thinking. Little sister, what's your name? Angelababy took out a piece of biscuit and handed it to the little girl. The little girl was timid and didn't dare to reach out to take it at first, but she couldn't resist the smell of the biscuits. She looked at her mother and after getting permission, she came over, took the biscuits, and started eating. Thank you, sister. Call her auntie, the woman said with some blame. She is just a pretty sister, said the little girl with a smile, looking unconvinced. What's your name? Angelababy laughed and seemed very happy. My name is Yair. After the little girl finished her biscuits, she hid behind the woman again, with a look of vigilance on her face. Those who could come here had seen too much killing and blood along the way. Even a little child like this was much calmer than she should be at her age. This child is shy, don't be angry. The woman felt a little embarrassed. It's okay, Angelababy said with a smile. She certainly couldn't blame the child. The sound of idle chatter began to be heard in the garage, breaking the previous silence. Life should be like this, Li Liang said lazily. At this moment, he was leaning back in a chair with his eyes closed, seeming to be enjoying it. What should it look like? Someone asked. Just like that, take it easy, eat when you're hungry, drink when you're hungry, and if you don't have food, find a way to work. If you work hard, you'll get something. Days will come after dark, and it's the same for people. Whether you're satisfied or not, you have to keep living. Li Liang said casually, if you feel uncomfortable, you have to say you're unhappy. Everyone around was silent. Perhaps, these people have forgotten what kind of life Li Liang was talking about. You are so naive, said the person who asked the question just now with some disdain. Li Liang then opened his eyes slightly and looked beside him. The person who was talking was actually Lu Xingnan. She had woken up at this time and was staring at the ceiling. No one knew what was in her mind. It seems that your injury is not serious, Li Liang said jokingly. Don't talk nonsense. Yang Ying reminded, if you were injured like her, you would be in excruciating pain. Li Liang smiled. He didn't feel any pain before, and no matter how serious the injury was, he could be fine. But now he doesn't dare to make such big talk. So, is it a good thing or a bad thing for me to regain consciousness? The people who are still alive here have experienced too much pain. I can tell from their expressions that I have seen too much. LV Xingnan seemed to be reminiscing, and she said to herself, watching my relatives and friends disappear in front of my eyes, being eaten by zombies, or starving to death, having accidents, and the world I am familiar with changing day by day, becoming unrecognizable to me. No one wants to have this kind of experience. Perhaps, this place is not much different from hell. What a pity for Wang Cheng. Angelababy choked up a little while speaking, as if she still couldn't let it go. He is an alliance warrior. The moment he became a warrior, he was ready to die for his companions and for humanity. Death is not scary for a warrior, Lu Xingnan said softly. At this time, it was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. We live to save this world, Lu Xingnan said firmly, as if this was her entire belief. Quiet, strangely quiet. Is there any hope for this world? Perhaps everyone is thinking about this question at this moment. Li Liang doesn't understand this world yet, but this is not the world he wants. What's going on with those 2 zombies? Li Liang was silent for a while and then asked. As the captain of the alliance, Lu Xingnan should be stronger than Wang Cheng. How could she fall into the hands of 2 zombies and be used as bait to lure other fighters into a trap and be hunted? There must be something going on. Lu Xingnan was silent, and no one knew what she was thinking, or perhaps she couldn't tell Li Liang about the situation. Seeing this, Angelababy felt a little embarrassed, so she stood up and went to play with the little girl with pigtails. I can only tell you that this city is very dangerous, and those who are still alive must leave quickly. Lu Xingnan spoke in a very low voice. If you didn't listen carefully, it would be difficult to hear clearly what she was saying. You actually believe me? Li Liang did not doubt what Lu Xingnan said, because there was no difference whether she said it or not, but from what she said, Li Liang sensed a sense of urgency. It seems like something big is about to happen. For the next few days, the three of them continued to rest here. Because they were located on the edge of the city, there were very few zombies nearby. The occasional zombies wandering over would be driven away by Xiongwu with simple Molotov cocktails. If they were lucky, they could even kill 1 or 2 zombies. Lu Xingnan's body is recovering rapidly, and she is slowly able to get out of bed and walk around. That day, as night fell, everyone thought that it would be another peaceful night as usual, but Xiongwu rushed over and said to Li Liang, "Oh no, something happened outside." Chapter 11, Don't commit suicide or you will die. What's up? You'll know if you go out and take a look. I don't know how to explain it. Xiongwu said helplessly. Li Liang followed Xiongwu out, and Lu Xingnan also followed out with the support of Angelababy. There seemed to be 2 people outside the manor, doing something. Upon closer inspection, it was Dao Yin and Ji Yufeng. After these 2 guys were beaten up by Li Liang, they completely lost their prestige here. Li Liang did not make things difficult for them. He let them eat and live with others. He did not spoil them or owe them anything. They have been living in peace these days. But how did he and the 2 guys run away now, and Dao Yin seemed to be still screaming? That guy was tied to a tree. It seems that there was some conflict. Xiongwu said anxiously. Dao Yin was tied to a tree, and Ji Yufeng stood beside him, using a small knife to slowly cut around his body, leaving a series of wounds. Blood flowed out from the wound, staining Dao Yin's clothes red. Die, all of you die. Ji Yufeng laughed grimly. Help, save me quickly, I don't want to die. Dao Yin shouted weakly, wanting Xiongwu and others to save him. It's really ridiculous to think about it. He was showing off in front of Xiongwu a few days ago, but now he urgently wants Xiongwu to save his life. No, that Ji Yufeng is using blood to attract the zombies. Lu Xingnan immediately saw the key to the matter. Zombies are most sensitive to human blood. Even at a distance of more than 10 kilometers, they can smell the blood in the air. How long has he been doing this? Angelababy asked hurriedly, wanting to see if it was still too late to stop him. It's too late. So much blood has been shed. It will definitely attract a horde of zombies. Lu Xingnan shook her head. She had the most experience and knew that it was irreversible. Quickly notify everyone, take whatever you can take, and leave behind what you can't take. Let's move quickly. Lu Xingnan started to make arrangements right away. Xiongwu nodded and ran in quickly. Li Liang walked to the big iron gate. At this time, the distance between him and Ji Yufeng was no more than 10 meters, and he could clearly see the other's face, which had been somewhat deformed. Why are you doing this? Do you know that you might kill everyone? Li Liang shouted. When facing zombies, he can kill ruthlessly, but when facing people, he will still hold back. But at this moment, if he had a choice, he really hoped that he could kill this demon in advance to prevent him from killing everyone. Har har, you didn't listen to me and I have lost everything. I want you to die, all of you to die. Ji Yufeng became angrier and angrier as he spoke, his face changing from ferocious to crazy. People like Ji Yufeng are able to keep their composure and have some tricks. He has finally made his life more comfortable than others and occupied everyone's resources for his own enjoyment. But suddenly he has nothing. This contrast is enough to drive him crazy. He hated everyone who didn't listen to him. He didn't assassinate Li Liang because he wanted everyone to die. And Dao Yin, his former lackey, tragically became his victim. Dao Yin was about to faint from excessive blood loss. It was not until this moment that he realized that he was nothing in Ji Yufeng's eyes. He wanted to curse, but he had no strength left. He could only use his eyes to ask for help from Li Liang and the others. Not far from the villa, a group of zombies rushed out, a black mass, and moved towards them quickly. Har har, here I come. Ji Yufeng smiled and saw that his plan was successful, and ran away in the opposite direction. When you are all dead, I will be the only winner, and only I can survive. He laughed as he ran, feeling very happy and proud. He thought his plans were always so perfect, and he always used his brain to plunder others, so he would never fail. However, just as he was running and laughing, a black shadow suddenly fell from the sky. The black shadow was like a ghost and directly locked onto Gu Feng. Then, a pair of sharp claws grabbed Gu Feng and pulled him into the air. Gu Feng screamed miserably and lost all hope of life. Is that a giant bat? Li Liang could see the black shadow clearly. It seemed to be a black bat that had been magnified thousands of times. Its pair of sharp claws were like iron hooks that pierced through Gu Feng's chest, and then tore Gu Feng's body in half with a strong tear. It then began to eat him in the air. Blood and internal organs were scattered all over the ground, and the zombies scrambled to eat the things that fell on the ground. Dao Yin, who was tied to the tree, was so scared that he screamed loudly. However, no matter how he shouted or struggled, he could not get down from the tree. Soon, he was surrounded by a group of zombies. After a few screams, he was completely dead. The zombies bit off pieces of his flesh and blood, exposing his bones. His entire body was dismembered. 2 grown men were eaten up right in front of his eyes. Li Liang also felt his scalp tingling at this moment. What he had seen before were all some black bloodstains, but nothing as obvious as what he saw just now. At the same time, he also understood why these survivors were so frightened and afraid, so they were frightened by Gu Feng's little trick. When people are most scared, they often want to grab something. Once this mentality is exploited, people will become very easy to control. After that disaster, many creatures mutated, becoming gigantic and zombie-like, and very aggressive. Lu Xingnan had already opened the device that had been on her arm, which contained a dagger and several darts. This should be her last weapon. The 2B-level zombies used her as bait and left her alone after seriously injuring her, so she was able to keep these weapons. Now you understand, we are not just facing zombies, but all mutated creatures. It is so difficult for humans to say they are still alive. Therefore, in some special circumstances, some means must be used. There was a firmness in Lu Xingnan's eyes. Li Liang could tell there was something else behind her words, but at this juncture, he didn't have time to ask her in detail. Angelababy and Xiongwu brought their people out and saw that so many zombies had surrounded the villa. Some people were so scared that they started crying and hid back. Let everyone go back, and try to call out those who have the courage to fight. Give each of them a homemade bomb. Kill as many zombies as possible. Lu Xingnan showed a determined look on her face. As the captain, she has experienced much more than Wang Cheng. The zombie swarm has begun to besiege the big iron gate, and rotten arms keep coming in. Although the iron gate is strong, it is only a matter of time before it is broken under the constant impact. Throw the bomb! Lu Xingnan yelled. At this time, Angelababy and everyone else already had a bottle in their hands, lit it, and threw it outside. Bang! 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 Explosions continued to be heard and flames broke out from all directions. Zombies were constantly being engulfed by the flames, but more zombies kept coming from behind. At the same time, the zombie bat in the sky also rushed towards the crowd where Yarn Ying was, easily grabbed a person, tore him apart in mid-air, and started eating him. The scene suddenly became extremely chaotic. Some people were scared and retreated back with their heads in their hands, wanting to go back to the garage. Some people were so angry that they kept throwing bottles outside, but there were not many bottles left. The iron gate was also deformed under the constant impact, and it would soon be broken. If this continues, it will only be a matter of time before all living people are eaten by the zombie horde. Help me! Lu Xingnan shouted to Li Liang and started running. What is she going to do? Li Liang looked at her movement trajectory, which was obviously to attract the attention of the zombie bat. After the zombie bat finished eating the prey in its hand, it rushed directly towards Lu Xingnan. The distance between the two was constantly shortening. When there were about 10 meters left, Lu Xingnan threw all the darts in her hands with both hands. Several streaks of light flew out, and under the light of the fire, they looked somewhat dazzling. Click, click, click. There were several scratches on the zombie bat's body, and green blood was flowing out, but it was not fatal. After being injured, the zombie bat became even more furious and rushed towards Lu Xingnan, wanting to tear her into pieces. Get out of my way! Li Liang let out a roar and pounced towards Lu Xingnan. Chapter 12: Fire and Poison Pills. Don't come over! Seeing that Li Liang was coming to save her regardless of his name, Lu Xingnan shouted directly. At the same time, he threw the dagger in his hand. The zombie bat suffered a loss once and would not be fooled a second time. It flew directly into the air and avoided the dagger. What a pity! For some reason, although Lu Xingnan had regret on her face, she was not angry. Instead, she looked at Li Lian with an indescribable feeling in her expression. I originally thought that if I could kill this zombie bat, maybe I could save some people. But now it seems that it is no longer possible. Lu Xingnan suddenly smiled, raised her hand, and wanted to press the device on her wrist. Li Liang grabbed her hand and stopped her. What are you hiding from everyone? Li Liang had long felt that Lu Xingnan must have something she didn't say, and now seeing her action, his suspicion deepened. This place will be breached by the zombie horde sooner or later, and we will all die. Before I die, I want to send a signal to the Alliance that there are no living people in this city anymore, and we can implement the final plan. Lu Xingnan said firmly. What is the final plan? Li Liang asked loudly, with a bad feeling coming over him. The Alliance will try its best to save the living humans, but once it is confirmed that there are no humans living in a city, a missile will be launched to destroy the entire city. This will not only effectively reduce the number of zombies, but also ensure that the city's resources will not fall into the hands of zombies. Lu Xingnan said firmly, as if she was talking about something that had nothing to do with her. You are crazy. Li Liang felt his scalp tingling. What basis do you have to judge that there are no survivors in a city? What qualifications do you have to destroy a city? It is the crystallization of human civilization. Li Liang felt that the person who could come up with this plan was really crazy. It's like killing 1,000 enemies and losing 800 of your own. Those who can be saved will be saved, and those who cannot be saved will be killed. This kind of black and white thinking is really scary. This world is so cruel. It's a pity that I couldn't save you. LV Xingnan's expression was also grim. The people here are the last human beings in this city. I was responsible for gathering and transferring the survivors in this city. Now, the mission has failed. Sorry. Lu Xingnan glanced at Li Liang and tried to break free and press the last button. Ding! The system detects that the second beauty has developed a crush on the protagonist. The system's voice suddenly sounded at this time. The system is issuing rewards. Reward 1, your beauty will be restored to 60%. Reward 2, a neurotoxin. The neurotoxin is transmissible and can paralyze any living creature that is contaminated by the toxin for 1 hour. What is the use of my good looks now? Li Liang felt speechless. At a critical moment of life and death, what is the use of being handsome? The key is to survive, no matter how handsome you are, that's the only meaning. Wait, nerve poison. Li Liang looked at the zombie bat in the sky and suddenly thought of a plan. Do you believe me? He asked Lu Xingnan anxiously, which made Lu Xingnan a little confused and she didn't know how to answer. Trust me and listen to me. Don't do anything for now, just watch me. After saying this, Li Liang left Lu Xingnan and ran away, starting shouting loudly. You stupid bat, come and catch me. He shouted while waving the dagger in his hand. When the zombie bat saw Li Liang, especially the dagger in his hand, his eyes turned cold and he rushed down. When he was very close to Li Liang, he suddenly changed direction. At the same time, Li Liang also threw the dagger in his hand out, but he didn't use much force because he knew that this trick was useless against the bat. The zombie bat successfully dodged the dagger and made a strange sound, as if mocking Li Liang. At the same time, it stretched out a pair of sharp claws and grabbed towards Li Liang. Li Liang was caught easily. However, compared to Ji Yufeng who had his body pierced by the sharp claws, Li Liang seemed to be fine. The sharp claws only scratched his skin and did not cause much harm to him. Physical strengthening can really save lives. Li Liang secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he was not dead, you, a stinky bat, would be dead for sure. The zombie bat didn't think so much. Seeing that his claws failed to penetrate Li Liang, he opened his mouth and bit towards Li Liang. However, before he bit Li Liang, it was like a candy bean was fed into his throat and he swallowed it immediately. What the hell? The zombie bat was just about to open his mouth to bite again, but he found that the world in front of him was a little different. Why was it so crooked? The trees that were originally standing upright actually began to move. Unconsciously, the zombie bat's claws loosened and Li Liang was thrown to the ground. Fortunately, his body was strengthened and a shallow pit was made on the ground, but he was still fine. Looking at the zombie bat again, it tossed around in the air for a few times and then fell directly into the zombie group on the periphery. Because Lu Xingnan's dagger had already caused damage to it before, blood was still flowing out of the wounds on the zombie bat's body, which immediately attracted a large number of zombies around to rush over. Bit it. All the zombies that ate the zombie bat meat showed similar symptoms. They began to stagger and finally fell to the ground. The most deadly thing is that the meat of the zombie bat seems to have some kind of temptation to other zombies. Zombies keep rushing up one after another just to take a bite of the zombie bat meat. The situation outside suddenly changed. The group of zombies that were originally madly besieging the villa began to fall to the ground in large numbers. Hurry, hurry and burn it! Li Liang shouted. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lu Xingnan was the first to react. She picked up the Molotov cocktail and threw it outside, and the others followed suit. A sea of fire suddenly broke out outside. All the fallen zombies were engulfed by the flames. Even if the few zombies that had not yet eaten the bat meat escaped the flames, they could not escape the killing by Lu Xingnan's dagger. A crisis of total annihilation was thus averted. Finally, Lu Xingnan, covered in blood, came back with an indescribable look of relief on her face. What do you think? You believed me, didn't you? Li Liang said with some pride. After struggling to get up, he was temporarily unable to move. Although I don't know how you came up with this idea, you did save everyone. Lu Xingnan didn't seem to be used to praising others. Her words were harsh but sincere. By the way, how did you know that the meat of the zombie bat would paralyze other zombies? Lu Xingnan was curious and began to ask, also, how come you were not injured? The bat's claws tore the man in half. I was just guessing. I didn't expect that I would get it right. Li Liang said evasively. Of course, he couldn't tell anyone about the system, so he could only make excuses like this. Then why are you so strong? Lu Xingnan was naturally not so easy to fool, and she asked again. Because he is thick-skinned. Just when Li Liang didn't know how to answer, Angelababy came over and said jokingly, which indirectly helped him out. For some reason, Angelababy didn't like Lu Xingnan chasing Li Liang and asking questions. This guy is really weird. He was a zombie at the beginning, but instead of being a good zombie, he tried to be a hero and save the damsel in distress. Humph. You know what, this guy is becoming more and more pleasing to the eye. Ding. The system detects that the first beauty's affection for the host has increased. The system's voice rang out. Ding. The system detects that the second beauty's affection for the host has increased. The system's voice rang again. Li Liang was a little confused. Seeing that Angelababy had spoken, Lu Xingnan didn't want to continue asking and just gave up. Just now, he saved this city. After saying this, Lu Xingnan walked inside. Chapter 13, C-Class Zombie Skin Collector. After Lu Xingnan left, Angelababy turned around and left without saying a word, leaving Li Liang there in a daze. Don't leave, hasn't the goodwill towards each other increased? Would you like to stay and enjoy the night view with me? Li Liang felt a little sad. Why did they all leave? But it's better to go. Let us see what the reward is this time, and it's double. Ding. System rewards are issued. Reward 1, directional teleportation within 500 meters. Reward 2, a chance to aim 100%. No matter what weapon you throw, you can hit the target. The power depends on the weapon. Reward 3, your appearance is restored to 60%. You are trying to trick me. Why does this option appear every time? Can I select all? Li Liang almost cursed out loud. This was the third time the option of restoring appearance to 60% appeared, but his reason told him that he really couldn't choose it. The most important thing now is to survive. Do you want the good looks you want? Of course I want it. But once you die, you have nothing. Is it useful to be a good-looking ghost? You can only choose 2 out of 3, the system told Li Liang seriously. Li Liang finally chose options 1 and 2, although he didn't know how to use them now. After returning to the garage, everyone rested for a night. The next morning, Lu Xingnan gathered everyone together and announced the news that the Alliance's support team would be here soon to pick everyone up. The mission of the team she leads is to bring the survivors in the city here, and then another team from the Alliance will come to pick everyone up. This was the information she had before she was captured by the 2 B-level zombies. The mission has not been completed yet and the other party should be arriving soon. Great, I can finally leave this horrible place. Is the area controlled by the Alliance a paradise for mankind? There was immediate cheering from the crowd. People who have suffered too much always dream of being able to get out of the pain quickly. But in Li Liang's opinion, this is nothing more than a blank check. First of all, has LV Xingnan completed her mission? What are the standards? Is there a deadline? Secondly, is the team sent by the Alliance to support the same as Lu Xingnan? If they are the same, then don't have too high expectations for their combat effectiveness. The most important thing is, I don't know whether he will come or not. Of course, it was impossible for Li Liang to express these thoughts out loud, but it was good to give everyone hope. Even if we have to wait, we still have to do a good job of defense. Under Lu Xingnan's arrangement, sentries were set up around the entire manor. Everyone was equipped with Molotov cocktails and food to last for 1 to 10 days. Everyone was in high spirits. Once people have hope, they will become different. The entire manor is even more like a fortress. After experiencing the previous battle, Li Liang realized more clearly that this world was more complicated than he had imagined. First of all, he learned from Lu Xingnan that zombies are strictly divided into different levels. Those that attack in groups are the most basic A-level zombies. They have no intelligence and are like walking corpses. The one he met who could control the zombie group and the 2 maverick zombies are all B-level. Above them, there are C-level and even higher level zombies, but those are not within the reach of Lu Xingnan. That zombie bat should also be considered Class B. After that battle, there was no guarantee that other Class B zombies would appear, so everyone was on high alert. On this day, Li Liang was basking in the sun when he heard people talking about how Xiongwu had been missing since yesterday. This did not attract much of his attention. Xiongwu was a bit stupid. Maybe he felt too tired and found a place to hide? Or did Lu Xingnan send him to carry out some mission? Just as he was thinking about this, Xiongwu happened to be standing outside the iron gate, looking at him. Xiongwu, come here. Someone said you were missing. Are you being lazy? Li Liang waved his hand lazily. He was used to greeting Xiongwu in this way. But Xiongwu did not come over directly, but still stood at the iron gate, staring at him. Come here quickly. Li Liang waved his hand again, already feeling something was wrong. Xiongwu no longer understood. He was like a statue, his expression was very dull, and it seemed that something was wrong. Li Liang stood up. Xiongwu seemed to have disappeared suddenly. What's going on? There is no way I am seeing things. What the hell is this Xiongwu doing? What's wrong? At this time, Lu Xingnan also walked out of the building, but she came out because she saw Li Liang suddenly stand up and felt something was wrong. I just saw Xiongwu. That guy was standing over there at the iron gate. I called him but he didn't respond. Li Liang briefly recounted what had just happened. Lu Xingnan began to think deeply. Is there any other news about him? Lu Xingnan asked. It seems that someone hasn't seen him since yesterday. Li Liang stopped talking here. There's a problem, the two said in unison, then glanced at each other and walked towards the garage at the same time. In the garage, people are busy with their work. Angelababy was playing with the little girl with pigtails at this time. As soon as Li Liang and Lu Xingnan walked into the garage, they saw Xiongwu standing next to Angelababy, who didn't seem to notice anything unusual. Xiongwu, come here, I have something to tell you. Li Liangqiang tried to remain calm and act as if he hadn't noticed anything. Lu Xingnan quietly put her hands on her waist, ready to take action. Xiongwu still stood there like a statue. The experienced IG took a tentative step forward. Xiongwu immediately bent down and grabbed Yarn Ying. Angelababy, be careful. Li Liang yelled. Angelababy reacted quickly and rolled to the ground, avoiding Xiongwu's hand. But the little girl with pigtails was not so lucky and was caught by Xiongwu. Who are you? Li Liang yelled. Everyone around realized something was wrong and ran over to surround Xiongwu. Xiongwu remained silent. Man. The mother of the girl with pigtails wanted to rush over to save the child, but was stopped. I saw Xiongwu slowly stretched out his hand and scratched his face, and a piece of human skin was slowly peeled off. He showed a face of defeat. Zombies. Someone wailed loudly. Man's mother was so frightened that she collapsed to the ground. She wanted to speak but no sound came out. She was so frightened that she almost fainted, and her eyes were filled with tears. Damn, when did it happen? Li Liang had already understood at this time. Xiong was probably killed yesterday, and his skin was peeled off by the zombie in front of him and put on his face. But what is the purpose of doing this? We can't let it escape. Save the child. Lu Xingnan and Yang Ying shouted at the same time. The others then came to their senses. With so many people around, why are they still afraid of a zombie? The brave ones rushed forward and stretched out their hands to save people, but they saw that the zombie was holding Man in one hand and slapping the man with the other hand as if slapping a fly. Pound. With a crisp sound, all the bones in the man's chest were broken. He fell directly to the ground, spitting blood, and died. This method is much more terrifying than those B-level zombies that Li Liang had seen before. After doing all this, the zombie ran straight out the door. Li Liang was unwilling to give up and wanted to chase after her, but was stopped by Lu Xingnan. At this time, Lu Xingnan's face turned a little blue, and she motioned Li Liang to go out. There was chaos inside. Li Liang had the dead buried and then followed Lu Xingnan out. I never thought we would meet in such a situation, Lu Xingnan said in panic. It was not until she and Li Liang were alone that she revealed her true feelings. What's going on? That zombie just now was AC level 1. Chapter 14, Team 191. Is this woman afraid too? At least in Li Liang's opinion, Lu Xingnan is not a person who is used to exposing her emotions. Hurry up and save that girl. Angelababy came out, her face full of worry. Just now, the girl with pigtails was kidnapped right in front of her eyes. She felt deeply guilty. No. LV Xingnan immediately rejected Yang Ying's request. With our current strength, it is impossible for us to survive against AC level zombie. We don't have weapons or equipment. We can't do it. Li Liang didn't say anything, but nodded at Angelababy. He really couldn't be impulsive now. For the whole next day, everyone lived in fear, scared, nervous, and even crying. The plan formulated by Li Liang and Lu Xingnan was very simple, which was to hold on and wait for rescue. Now it seems that the C-level zombie does not intend to kill everyone at once, but is slowly torturing them for some purpose. This also gives them time to make some preparations. The next morning, before dawn, everyone was awakened by a scream. Li Liang walked out and saw several bodies hanging on the trees. They were the people who were assigned to patrol at night. These corpses had one thing in common, that is, they were all skinned and hung bloody. Judging from the bloodstains under the tree that had not yet completely dried up, they must have been killed not long ago. This scene, like a bomb, fell into the hearts of people who were already feeling frightened. Some people have already started to want to escape, desperate to leave here. Originally, the villa was the last stronghold of the survivors in this city, but now, it seems to have become a cage, and these people are the prey that the C-level zombie can hunt at any time. Damn it! Lu Xingnan clenched her fists, but finally held back. Why does that guy do this? With his strength, wouldn't it be more convenient to just kill us? Li Liang asked with some confusion. Maybe, there is a possibility, but I'm not sure if it's true. Legend has it that the more advanced the zombies are, the less interest they have in flesh and blood. Instead, they are very sensitive to various emotions. In fact, these emotions that they like to capture can even bring them mysterious benefits. Lu Xingnan recalled. If what Lu Xingnan said is true, then fear is what it wants most. In the next few days, 2 or 3 people were killed almost every day, and their skin was peeled off and hung on trees. The other party's actions were limited to this and they did not do anything else. At first, some people couldn't stand it anymore and tried to escape quietly, but they couldn't run far before they were caught and eaten by the zombies roaming around the periphery. If I stay in the villa, I might be killed and skinned tomorrow. If I go out, I will be caught and eaten immediately. Both choices lead to death. In this tense and depressing atmosphere, people's spirits are stretched to the limit. Help, help! That morning, the sun had already risen in the sky, and suddenly someone shouted. The crowd rushed out directly. I saw a man with blood all over his body, limping and running. Behind him was a zombie covered in black human skin, who was following him slowly. She seemed to enjoy his expression of escape and despair. Bastard! Li Liang cursed, picked up a dagger and rushed forward. It was not his style to watch someone in danger without helping. But the other party had no intention of fighting and turned around and ran outside. Don't chase him! Lu Xingnan shouted. However, a change occurred at this moment. Looking at the direction where the zombie was running, 3 fire dragons suddenly appeared and surrounded the zombie from 3 directions in a triangle. Har har, I didn't expect to encounter such a big fish. A somewhat arrogant voice came from the depths of the woods. Immediately afterwards, a net shot out from another direction, spread out in the air, and instantly covered the zombie, then immediately tightened and wrapped it up. The tighter the web was, the more the zombies were wrapped up like dumplings, unable to move. A dagger flew out and stabbed directly into the zombie's throat, and then flames spurted out, burning the zombie to ashes. The whole action was done in one go, as if it had been trained countless times. 3 men dressed in Alliance warrior uniforms walked out of the woods. Leading them was a young man with camouflage on his face. He was tall and thin and held a flamethrower in his hand. Even though his face could not be seen clearly, one could still tell from his exaggerated smile that he had a rather flamboyant personality. Our 191 team is here. Kong Fei, as the captain of the team, walked in the front and saw Lu Xingnan from afar. Behind him followed 2 men, one was shorter but looked strong, and the other wore glasses and looked a little immature. LV Xingnan, where are your teammates? Kong Fei only spoke to LV Xingnan and automatically ignored Li Liang, who was standing next to her. Li Liang snorted and was too lazy to speak. They all sacrificed themselves. Lu Xingnan said softly. She was not very fond of Kong Fei. It seems you are in trouble. Kong Fei smiled. Xiongwu, He Wei Gui, you two go and take a look around to see if there are any potential dangers around here. Kong Fei instructed the 2 team members behind him. Xiongwu is short but agile. As he walks, he keeps his eyes on Lu Xingnan. The higher-ups sent you to pick us up. Of course, your mission is accomplished. Now it's our turn. Kong Fei said with a smile, as if he had immediately become the supreme commander here. R. At this moment, a scream came from the garage. Li Liang sounded very familiar with their voice. Not good. It's Angelababy. Li Liang ran straight into the garage, but when he got in, there was no trace of Angelababy anymore. He only saw a group of people huddled around. Zombie, that zombie took her away. Someone said tremblingly. I'll chase him. Li Liang clearly saw that the zombie covered in human skin was burned to ashes by Kong Fei and his men. Kong Fei, you've been exposed on the way here. LV Xingnan finally reacted. The other party hasn't killed us all for another reason, they are waiting for you to come. Looking at Kong Fei, who was a little confused, Lu Xingnan directly told him the current situation. Kong Fei was a little dazed for a moment. Li Liang was about to rush out but was stopped by Lu Xingnan. If you go now, you will only die. Lu Xingnan said seriously. It is impossible for one person to defeat a C-level zombie alone. At least in her opinion, there is no such thing. I have to go. Li Liang smiled. He knew that Lu Xingnan meant well, but he couldn't just watch Yarn Ying get arrested. He didn't want Yarn Ying to suffer the same fate as those people who died tragically. Directional teleportation within 500 meters, locking onto C-level zombies. Li Liang ran outside without looking back and disappeared into the woods. When he appeared again, he was already 200 or 300 meters away from the villa. At this time, a zombie covered in human skin was moving quickly forward. On its back was a woman who had fainted. It was Angelababy. Put him down. Li Liang yelled and rushed over. Chapter 15 Burning. The C-level zombie actually stopped and slowly turned around. It had a piece of human skin on its face and a pair of green eyes that glowed faintly as it stared at Li Liang. It couldn't figure out how Li Liang caught up with it, but since he was here, it might as well kill him. After putting Angelababy down, the C-level zombie rushed over directly and stretched out his hands. The nails on his hands were not long, but they were flashing with cold light and were very sharp. There was still blood and flesh residue in the cracks between the nails. With a click, the C-level zombie's nails scratched Li Liang's arms on both sides. The clothes Li Liang was wearing had several scratches on them, as if they had been cut by a knife, but there were no obvious scars on his body. The C-level zombie was also stunned for a moment. It used these hands to peel off human skin like cutting tofu, but why did it have no effect on this guy? Li Liang also understood instantly that it was the effect of physical strengthening. Although he was not invulnerable to swords and guns now, he could withstand ordinary blows. In other words, it was impossible for a C-level zombie to kill him easily. After realizing this, Li Liang directly wrestled with the C-level zombies. His body continued to bear the opponent's attacks, making bursts of hitting sounds. Angelababy, who was originally abducted by a C-class zombie and fainted from fright, now woke up to this noisy sound. When she saw Li Liang fighting desperately with the zombies, she instantly realized that the other party was coming to save her. This guy actually came to save me. Angelababy felt a little touched. Ding! The system detects that the first Beauty's affection for the host has increased. The method reward is burning. An unknown fire will be generated in the palm of your hand. Anything it touches will be burned by the unknown fire. The degree of burning depends on the specific circumstances of the object it touches. This reward can only be used once. The system's voice suddenly sounded. Li Liang, who was being beaten and had no way to fight back, suddenly had his eyes light up. It came just in time. Use it directly. A nameless fire immediately ignited in the palm of Li Liang's hand. The flame was transparent, but the high temperature caused the surrounding air to become somewhat distorted. I'll burn you to ashes. Li Liang roared and put his palms directly on the body of the sea-level zombie. In fact, when flames ignited on Li Liang's palms, the sea-level zombies already felt something was wrong, but they and Li Liang were in close combat, so even if they noticed something unusual, it was too late to withdraw. When Li Liang put his palms on himself, the sea-level zombie immediately let out a strange cry. 2 black handprints were imprinted directly on his chest, like 2 pieces of branding irons, sinking deeply into the flesh, burning with high temperature, making sizzling sounds, and his skin was burnt. You're not dead even after this. Li Liang pushed it away hurriedly, not wanting to get hurt by the heat wave. The C-class zombie screamed, or even roared, and kept slapping its chest, even trying to tear off its already burnt skin, but it was of no avail. It was in so much pain that it could hardly stand. The human skin on its face also fell off, revealing its true appearance. Therefore, Li Liang had the opportunity to see clearly that this guy's face was covered with scars. He was obviously a tough guy who had gone through countless fights. Some of the scars looked like grooves, so deep that the bones were almost exposed. To Li Liang's disappointment, the flames did not kill it, but only burned 2 holes in its body, through which the rotten flesh could be seen. After enduring this pain, the sea-level zombie stared at Li Liang with its eyes and made strange roars, as if it wanted to eat him alive. At this moment, a net flew over from the sky and directly covered the sea-level zombie, and quickly closed in, wrapping it up like a rice dumpling. This scene is so familiar. Lu Xingnan and Team 191 have arrived. Damn, it's actually sea level. Kong Fei cursed, with shock and a hint of excitement in his words. Successfully hunting a sea-level zombie is a very meaningful thing for him. It is a military achievement, which not only brings personal honor, but also can be used to get a promotion. You actually managed to survive in its hands for so long. Lu Xingnan was a little surprised to see that Li Liang was not dead and was not even seriously injured. At this time, Lu Xingnan obtained the equipment brought by Kong Fei and others, and rearmed herself, holding a flamethrower in her hand and a weapon on her waist. Leave it to us next. Kong Fei said with some pride. He has already seen the wounds on the zombies. Although he doesn't know how Li Liang did it, at least if he takes action now, his chances of winning will increase greatly. It is simply a bargain. He would be letting himself down if he doesn't take advantage of it. Miao Gang, he is so expensive, everyone work hard for me, I want to make a big one this time. Kong Fei was extremely excited. Take the injured to a safe place first. Lu Xingnan said at this time. Although Angelababy was not seriously injured, it would be better to take her to a safe area. Kong Fei didn't say anything. Captain, let me do it. Take her away from here. I'll be back soon. Miao Gang said immediately. Go quickly and come back soon. Kong Fei was speechless and could only agree. Lu Xingnan wanted to say something, but she didn't say it in the end. She couldn't cause an internal conflict now. The flamethrowers in the hands of the 3 men immediately sprayed out 3 fire dragons, wrapping up the sea-level zombie. Burn it! Burn it! Har har! Kong Fei said excitedly, pay attention, even if your head is burned, I am still useful. However, things did not develop in the direction they expected. The C-class zombie was obviously very resistant. The fire only left some burn marks on its skin but did not cause any harm. Li Liang actually had a premonition of this. Even the burning function provided by the system could not burn this guy to death, but relying on a few flames would definitely not work. Giggle, giggle. The sea-level zombie let out a low roar. Oh no, everyone be careful. Li Liang didn't know why, but he suddenly felt a sense of oppression in his heart. Two black figures suddenly rushed in from the outside and directly appeared in front of the sea-level zombies. There are two B-level ones. Lu Xingnan became nervous. The two B-level zombies simply stretched out their hands and tried hard to pull open the taut net. In the process, their hands were scratched by the steel wire, and even their bones were exposed, but they didn't care. The sea-level zombie that was originally trapped was escaped because of this. At this moment, it also looked a little embarrassed, with marks of wire mesh all over its body, and some places even had burn marks, especially the two dark holes on its chest, which were almost life-threatening. The sea-level zombie growled. An AB-level zombie walked straight over. The sea-level zombie opened its mouth and bit the B-level zombie on the neck. The B-level zombie's body was shaking, wilting, and shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the sea-level zombie finally let go, it fell directly to the ground and never moved again. After doing all this, the C-class zombie's injuries improved significantly. It sucks the opponent's life energy and uses it to heal itself. The higher the level of the zombie, the harder it is to die because it can use this method to constantly replenish itself. Lu Xingnan was also surprised. It seemed that although she knew about this situation, it was the first time she had witnessed it with her own eyes. The remaining B-level zombie was shaking with fear. Even though it was a zombie, it still had some humanity left, and it was afraid that it would be sucked like this. Roar! The sea-level zombie roared, turned around and ran away, obviously unwilling to fight. The B-level zombie was used by it as a tool to delay time. Damn it! Kong Fei cursed. Seeing that the C-class zombie was running away quickly and it was impossible to catch up with it, he simply took out a throwing knife and threw it at the B-class zombie. Directional darts. The dart went straight into the zombie's neck, making it unable to move. The three of them sprayed out flames at the same time, burning the B-level zombie to ashes. It will be more troublesome when it recovers. Lu Xingnan was a little worried. Go back first. Li Liang was a little worried about Yarn Ying. After he finished speaking, he walked in the direction where Miao Gang and Yarn Ying had just left without waiting for others to react. After walking for a distance, I heard Yarn Ying's voice, "Don't come over here, what do you want to do?" Chapter 16, Scumbags Deserve to be Beaten. Li Liang thought something was wrong and ran over quickly. In the woods, Yarn Ying was hiding behind a tree, holding a wooden stick in her hand, looking at Miao Gang with horror. At this time, Miao Gang was staring at Yarn Ying with lustful eyes, and even took off his soldier uniform. Hee, they are fighting over there, so they don't have time to care about us. I took a liking to you at first sight. You've been through life and death together, and I haven't had sex with you in a long time. Miao Gang rubbed his hands and slowly approached Angelababy. How could Angelababy be his opponent? It was only a matter of time before he defeated her, so he was not in a hurry. Don't come over here. Yarn Ying looked at Miao Gang in horror, but her face immediately became calm. Before Miao Gang could react, his shoulder felt like it was clamped by an iron clamp and he cried out in pain. Who the hell dares to ruin my good deeds? Miao Gang cursed, turned around and saw Li Liang. His expression became even more ferocious. He is not afraid of anyone as long as it's not Kong Fei. Let me go, or I'll kill you. Miao Gang subconsciously reached for the flamethrower, but his brain was filled with tadpoles and he had already thrown the flamethrower aside. He tried to touch the weapon on his waist again, but Li Liang saw through his moves and kicked him in the stomach. Miao Gang was nearly kicked flying, but his body was still held tightly by Li Liang. At this critical moment of life and death, you still have the heart to do such a bad thing. It seems that this is not your first offense. Li Liang looked at him with some disgust. He felt that teaching such a person a lesson would dirty his hands, but he had to teach him a lesson. Let me go, believe it or not I will kill you. Miao Gang was now only stubborn. Li Liang stopped talking and slapped him repeatedly, beating him into a pig's head and knocking out 2 of his teeth. That's enough. Just when Li Liang was about to continue, Kong Fei yelled from behind. After all, Miao Gang was his team member. Although he didn't know what was going on, when he saw the frightened Yarn Ying, he instantly guessed something. But he had to save Miao Gang, so he could only choose to yell. Har, you're here at the right time. This is your good teammate. Li Liang picked up Miao Gang and threw him towards Kong Fei like throwing a ball. Miao Gang fell to the ground. When he saw Kong Fei's unfriendly look, he was so scared that his crotch got wet and he quickly begged for mercy. "Captain, I didn't do anything, but he suddenly attacked me." Don't believe what that woman said, they are in the same group. Miaogang no longer cared about logic or illogicality. He had to make up an excuse to survive. "Shut up, it's fucking embarrassing." Kong Fei cursed. How could he not know what kind of person Miaogang was? His eyes lit up when he saw a woman. But he didn't expect this guy to be so bold. "Captain Kong, is this how you manage your team members? If this is reported to their higher-ups, I'm afraid you'll be in big trouble." Lu Xingnan made a sudden move at this time. The way Miaogang looked at her before had already made her very disgusted, and now he did this again. Naturally, she was very angry and threatened Kong Fei directly. Kong Fei stared at Miaogang, then looked at Li Liang and Lu Xingnan with a complicated expression. As for Yarn Ying, he ignored her. Now is not the time for internal strife. I received an order when I came here. Everyone must evacuate within 2 days. Once the deadline is missed, everything in this city will be destroyed. Now every soldier is a valuable combat force. Kong Fei's words clearly helped Miaogang. Calculate the time. If we can't get to the designated gathering place before dark tomorrow, none of us will survive. The atmosphere suddenly seemed a little depressing. Severely punishing Miaogang would reduce the combat effectiveness of our side, and the chance of everyone's survival would also decrease. But is it possible to pretend that this incident had never happened? Li Liang suddenly laughed and found it a little ridiculous. Let a criminal be the savior? He raised his foot and before anyone could stop him, he stepped down on Miaogang's left arm. With a click, Miaogang's left hand was broken. Miaogang rolled on the ground in pain. Did you just attack the Alliance soldiers? Kong Fei raised his gun. He Wei Gui hesitated and did not take any action. At the same time, LV Xingnan pointed her gun at Kong Fei. "Kong Fei, try shooting." "Okay. I will remember this." Kong Fei put down his gun, stared at Li Liang, then asked He Wei Gui to help Miaogang up and walked towards the villa. "You are right. If he were my man, I would kill him myself," Lu Xingnan said to Li Liang. After saying this, she walked over to support Angelababy. At this time, the women had more to talk about. Li Liang walked at the end of the crowd, looking very indifferent. He did not regret what he had said to Kong Fei. Whenever he met a scum like Miaogang, he would definitely beat him up. After everyone returned to the villa, they announced to everyone that they would set out immediately that day to the designated retreat point. And that designated location is a cruise ship terminal, where there will be a ship named Ark. Everyone started getting ready and set off early tomorrow morning. Ding! The system detected that the host successfully helped the first beauty out of danger, and issued special rewards. Reward 1, directional movement within 800 meters. Reward 2, directional movement within 500 meters, able to carry one person. Both rewards are for single use. The system's voice sounded again. You came just in time. Li Liang was secretly happy in his heart. He didn't think that the sea-level zombie would just run away and not come back. And that Miaogang looked at him as if he wanted to eat him. With these two troubles around, there was no way he could be safe. That night, few people could actually fall asleep as they were all worried about tomorrow's itinerary. Kong Fei deliberately arranged for Miaogang to go on night patrol so that he wouldn't meet Yarn Ying and Li Liang. Lu Xingnan also had something on her mind. She kept looking outside, and no one knew what she was thinking. Night comes quietly and leaves quietly. When day appears on the horizon, everyone knows that it is time to set off. At the hour mark, there were still more than 70 people alive, and each of them had been given some food and fresh water, as well as several beer bottles filled with fuel. The resources of the villa were completely exhausted. The Ark is located about 50 kilometers away from the villa, a day's journey. The group set off like this, with Team 191 walking in the front, Lu Xingnan and Li Liang following behind, and Angelababy naturally following beside Li Liang. Thank you for yesterday. Yarn Ying felt a little embarrassed. She walked beside Li Liang and the sound of her words sounded like a mosquito. It's okay, scumbags deserve to be beaten, Li Liang said with a smile. Angelababy stared at Li Liang. This guy was still as annoying as ever, but he was much more pleasing to the eye compared to the beginning. When Lu Xingnan saw Angelababy and Li Liang talking, she deliberately kept a distance from them. The team marched forward for more than 10 kilometers, occasionally encountering one or two wandering zombies, who were directly burned to ashes by Kong Fei's flamethrower. "Captain, I must avenge the beating that guy gave me," Miao Gang said resentfully as he walked beside Kong Fei. "Get out." Kong Fei glanced at Miao Gang and said nothing. How could he not know Miao Gang's character? Was he involved in those bad things? "There's a situation ahead." He Wei Gui, who was walking in the front, shouted to the back, and the whole team stopped. At this time, everyone just passed through the forest and came to an open space in the forest. The sun had risen completely into the sky and the sunlight was a little dazzling. In the middle of the open space, there was a tree trunk that was specially erected. On the trunk, there was a little girl. The little girl was so frightened that she was shaking all over and had no idea how many times she had fainted from crying. Now she heard someone coming and woke up again. She saw her mother from afar. "Mom, I want Mom." The little girl cried and shouted. This sound is heartbreaking. Man. When the little girl's mother heard her child's cry, she was about to rush out, but was stopped by Kong Fei. "In such an empty place, there is only a little girl here, which is obviously wrong." Kong Fei looked around nervously. The open space vaguely appeared to be a circle. The entire team had already walked into the open space, and in the depths of the dark forest, moving figures were constantly emerging. "We are surrounded." Kong Fei shouted directly, "Everyone, turn your vests towards me, face the forest, and be ready to fight at any time. Something is wrong." Lu Xingnan was also observing the situation around her. Li Liang felt as if there was some movement under his feet. The soil on the open ground where they were standing was very soft, and if he stepped hard, it would leave a footprint. Although there was nothing unusual at the moment, he always felt that the real danger came from below. At the same time, the figures that appeared around had already walked near the crowd. They were a group of wandering zombies. Chapter 17, Monsters in the Sand. "Damn it, do you think a group of zombies like this can destroy us?" While Kong Fei was speaking, he had already turned on the flamethrower and sprayed it at the surrounding zombies. Team 191 was full of energy. Lu Xingnan also raised her gun and sprayed flames outwards, but she was still on guard, fearing that something unexpected would happen again. The scene seemed a bit chaotic for a while, and the surrounding trees and the zombies that appeared started burning together. People in the crowd kept throwing Molotov cocktails outside until they had thrown all the Molotov cocktails in their hands. This violent operation burned all the zombies directly. Is this the end? Li Liang thought to himself. At this moment, the sea-level zombie suddenly appeared beside the little girl. It stretched out its hand and gently placed its sharp fingernails on the little girl's head. If it used a little force, the consequences would be disastrous. "No, I beg you, let my child go," the mother of the little girl with pigtails cried and begged. But, is it useful to beg for mercy from zombies? Obviously impossible. However, what no one expected was that the other party was not in a hurry to take action and seemed to be waiting for something. Take advantage of now. Kong Fei didn't want to waste time, so he called his team members directly, and 3 directional throwing knives flew out directly. Judging from the trajectory, these 3 throwing knives would hit the sea-level zombie, but at the same time they would also take the life of the little girl. Anyone can see this result. No, I beg you." The little girl's mother cried weakly, but at this moment, she could not affect anyone. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, lifting some more strands of the girl's mother's already messy hair. A wire mesh flew over at an even faster speed, covered the 3 throwing knives, tightened them, and then dropped them to the ground. It was Lu Xingnan who took action. "LV Xingnan, what are you doing?" Kong Fei stared at LV Xingnan who had walked to the front. There was anger in his eyes, but he did not show it. "The Alliance should have warned you that you must not kill anyone under any circumstances." Lu Xingnan also knew that she had actually interrupted the battle of Kong Fei and the others, but she remained calm and found an irrefutable reason. "In this situation, you should ask the Alliance to save her and save us." Kong Fei knew that Lu Xingnan was looking for an excuse to put pressure on him, but was unwilling to break up with him. "What should I do? If I continue to attack, the little girl's life will definitely be in danger, and I may not be able to kill the sea-level zombie. Should I just watch it kill the little girl before taking any more action? Obviously that's impossible. It's stalling for time." Kong Fei suddenly realized the other party's possible purpose, and his face changed drastically. "We can't let everyone die just for a child. You must get on the boat before dark, Otherwise you can't leave. Kong Fei definitely doesn't want to be destroyed along with this city. Get started. The three members of Team 191 were ready to attack again, and Lu Xingnan couldn't stop them this time. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared next to the sea-level zombie, and no one noticed how he appeared. He kicked the sea-level zombie, then quickly rescued the little girl, held her in his arms, and ran towards the crowd. The C-class zombies didn't react, and the crowd didn't react either. Just by running a few more steps, they successfully rescued the little girl. But at this moment, a cold light flashed, and a wound immediately appeared on Li Liang's left thigh. Blood flowed out, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground. However, before falling to the ground, he threw the little girl towards Lu Xingnan. Lu Xingnan hurriedly caught the little girl. The little girl was so scared that she started crying loudly. Lu Xingnan handed her to her mother, then her expression turned cold as she looked at Miao Gang, who had a smug look on his face. How dare you attack me? Lu Xingnan was really angry. Everyone came to their senses at this time. Just when Li Liang was running towards the crowd, Miao Gang secretly attacked and injured him with a directional flying knife, causing Li Liang to fall between the crowd and the sea-level zombies. At this moment, the sea-level zombie was already walking towards Li Liang. Traitor! Yang Ying cursed, and picked up whatever she could and threw it at Miao Gang. Miao Gang didn't care at all, and even had a smug look on his face. If he broke his arm, he would kill him. You will be tried in the Alliance Court, but I'm afraid I won't be able to help but kill you before that. After saying this, Lu Xingnan rushed directly towards Li Liang. Can you rescue him before the sea-level zombies do? At this moment, something strange happened and the entire open space began to tremble. The sea-level zombie stopped, as if waiting for something. Why have I become shorter? Someone shouted. No, we are the ones who are sinking. The entire open space, starting from the very center, was sinking directly downwards. A pair of pincers as big as door panels slowly emerged from the ground. They were obviously living creatures, and they were still wriggling continuously. Once someone approaches, the pair of pincers will snap and cut the person in half. Then, a bloody mouth will appear under the pincers and start to devour the corpse. People have been killed continuously. What is this thing? Even Kong Fei was shocked. It was the first time he saw such a weird thing. He quickly picked up the flamethrower and sprayed flames at the pair of pliers. The flames burned the pair of pincers red, but this did not affect its ability to cut people into pieces and then eat them. The flames even made its attack power more deadly. This is what the sea-level zombies are really waiting for. Everyone will die in the mouth of this monster in the sand. Run! Angelababy shouted, trying to tell the people around her to run away, but she found that she didn't move at all. She lowered her head and saw that her legs were wrapped with something like a tentacle at some point, and she couldn't get it untied. The more she tried to loosen it, the tighter it got. Some people fell to the ground in pain, and were pulled into the monster's mouth by the things on their feet. Even Kong Fei and Lu Xingnan were entangled. Kong Fei wanted to use a flying knife to cut the thing on his foot, but found that even the blade couldn't cut it. It's over. Kong Fei felt a little desperate. If I cut off my legs, there might still be a chance. Lu Xingnan somehow came up with this idea, but she didn't do it herself. Everyone was stunned. This way of survival would make one a useless person even if they survived. There were zombies everywhere nearby. The only difference was dying now or later. He Wei Gui suddenly thought of something, glanced at Lu Xingnan, moved his mouth, but said nothing. Miao Gang was about to be pulled to the side of the big pincers at this time. After hearing her words, he made up his mind, and the desire to survive overcame his reason. He took out a flying knife and really cut off his feet from his ankles. Blood spurted out. He crawled out with difficulty, his face was pale, and there was even a hint of pride. You bunch of idiots, you come up with a solution but don't dare to do it. I am the one who has the courage. But he didn't expect that the blood would directly attract the attention of the monster in the sand. Countless tentacles stretched out from the sand, entangled his whole body, like a cocoon, and dragged him over. No, Captain, save me! Miao Gang shouted loudly. Kong Fei was unable to take care of himself and could not save him. He could only watch as Miao Gang was crushed into pieces by the pincers, fell into the monster's mouth, and was eaten by Tun. Evil will be punished. Disgust appeared on Yang Ying's face. In her opinion, it would be better for Miao Gang to die than to live. You!
Kong Fei glared at Lu Xingnan, but didn't say anything in the end.
The person is already dead, so there is no point in offending your companions for him. People kept being killed, and the monster in the sand seemed to be never full and wanted to devour everyone. The sea-level zombies seemed to be watching a good show, enjoying it to the fullest, and had no intention of taking action again. Give me the flamethrower, quickly. After a simple treatment, the wound on Li Liang's thigh had slowly stopped bleeding. He climbed up with difficulty and shouted to Kong Fei, who was closest to him. He is going to give it a try. Whether everyone can survive depends on the result of his action. However, Kong Fei just stared at him without any movement. What does this guy want to do? He couldn't believe Li Liang. Go on. At the critical moment, He Wei Gui, the guy who looked a little immature, gave him the flamethrower in his hand. The fuel in the gun can only be fired once. He Wei Gui shouted loudly. He had done what he could, and the rest depended on Li Liang. Li Liang took the gun, looked at the sea-level zombie, and actually smiled. Chapter 18: Abandonment and Repayment. 500-meter directional movement started, carrying target, C-class zombie. Li Liang directly used the reward given by the system. Since the existing weapons can't kill this guy, let's send it into the mouth of the monster in the sand. Li Liang immediately turned into a shadow and rushed to the side of the sea-level zombie. Their bodies stuck together and then they disappeared together. When they appeared again, they were right above the huge claws of the monster in the sand. Li Liang directly threw down the sea-level zombies that had not yet reacted. At the same time, Li Liang threw out a dagger with a thin wire wrapped around it. It stabbed diagonally into the ground. With a strong pull, Li Liang's body rushed towards the ground next to him. Crack! With a crisp sound, the sea-level zombie originally wanted to resist, but it was of no use. Its body was cut in half from the waist, and the lower half was eaten. Go to hell! Li Liang, who had landed safely, raised the flamethrower, aimed it at the mouth of the monster in the sand, and directly sprayed out flames. At this time, the monster was devouring a sea-level zombie, with its blood-red tongue sticking out, just exposed to the flames. Sizzle! A barbecue sound was heard, and the sand monster's tongue immediately struggled, even spitting out the pieces of meat of the sea-level zombie it had eaten before. This scene has stunned everyone. At the same time, the tiny tentacles that bound everyone shrank back and disappeared. Everyone fled to the side, away from this monster, as if they were running for their lives. Well done. Lu Xingnan praised. HMPH, he was just lucky. I just don't know how he did it just now. Kong Fei's face looked a little unhappy. As the captain, he was actually rescued by an ordinary person, and the other party had a grudge against him. After everyone was rescued, they all gathered behind Kong Fei and Lu Xingnan. At this time, these two people had become the backbone of the group. Looking at the monster in the sand again, after struggling for a while, it seemed to be dead, with a burnt tongue sticking out, motionless. Li Liang then cautiously wanted to walk back to Yang Ying and the others. But at this moment, the monster's tongue actually moved, and then a stream of fishy saliva sprayed directly onto Li Liang's body. Then, the monster's body shrank back into the ground and disappeared. What is this? It's so disgusting. Li Liang wiped the saliva off his body. The saliva was strange and ugly, but it dried up quickly and no smell remained. Har har, you're done. Kong Fei suddenly laughed, as if he saw something that made him happy. That thing has marked you. Many monsters have this ability. Once you are marked, you will never stop fighting. As long as the monster is still alive, it will definitely chase you and kill you. At this time, Li Liang was not far away from the crowd. After hearing Kong Fei's words, the people who had just been saved by Li Liang all avoided him, as if they were avoiding the plague god, and did not want to have anything to do with Li Liang. Seeing everyone's reactions, Kong Fei was very satisfied. This was the effect he wanted. Lu Xingnan frowned. Although she knew that what Kong Fei said was true, what on earth did Kong Fei want to do by saying this at this time? Obviously not a good thing. Captain Kong, what should we do now? Someone asked timidly. Keep going. As long as we can get to the Ark before dark, we'll all be safe. Kong Fei spoke loudly on purpose, pointing at Li Liang, but he can't come with us, otherwise we'll attract that monster and we'll all be doomed. After Kong Fei finished speaking, Li Liang immediately felt that there was something wrong with the way everyone looked at him. There were all kinds of expressions, including disdain, disgust, exclusion, and regret.
No.
Yang Ying shouted, "You can't abandon him. If you abandon him now, he will die. You can't do this." While speaking, Angelababy was already preparing to walk over to Li Liang.
Snort.
Kong Fei didn't show any courtesy to Angelababy. He attacked her directly and hit her in the abdomen. Angelababy looked at him angrily and fainted immediately.
Carry her up, let's go.
Kong Fei instructed He Wei Gui, took a step forward, with an indescribable smile on his lips. The crowd immediately followed Kong Fei and moved. Human nature cannot be tested at this time. Although Li Liang had just saved everyone, abandoning Li Liang now would give them the greatest chance of survival. Everyone knows how to choose.
But there is an exception.
There was a person who moved in the opposite direction of the crowd and walked directly to Li Liang.
LV Xingnan, you're crazy.
Kong Fei stopped and yelled at Lu Xingnan. This woman was very strong, and he didn't want to lose this fighting power now.
Kong Fei, there is no point in saying more. You take them away, and I'll stay.
Lu Xingnan didn't want to get entangled with Kong Fei, but she also had her own ideas and would not compromise because of the other party's threats.
Don't forget your mission. Kong Fei's tone was already a little angry. I believe that with you here, everyone can arrive safely.
Lu Xingnan said with a smile, while her hand was already holding the flamethrower, ready to raise it at any time. The two looked at each other for a while, and finally, Kong Fei's face twitched a few times, and he turned and left.
Put Yang Ying down.
Li Liang shouted. Kong Fei stopped walking, but did not turn around to look at him. He just said disdainfully, "Talk about it after you can survive.
Don't hide behind a woman. Put him down."
Li Liang roared and was about to rush forward. What Li Liang didn't expect was that Lu Xingnan actually stopped him.
Believe me, it's even more dangerous if she follows you now.
Lu Xingnan looked at Li Liang without any change in expression. Li Liang clenched his fists and ultimately did not chase after him.
Why did you stay?
There's no reason. I don't want to owe you a favor. You've helped me before, and I'll try my best to help you survive. Lu Xingnan said it easily, but anyone who had just seen the monster in the sand knew that this was a decision that could very likely result in loss of life. Don't worry too much about Yang Ying. With so many people following her, it's hard for her to do anything. The crowd slowly went away. Li Liang and Lu Xingnan walked to a small hill, ate some dry food and began to rest. According to Lu Xingnan's analysis, the monster should only be able to move freely in the soft sand. If it encounters obstacles such as rocks, its activities will be restricted. Relatively speaking, they will be much safer on this hillside. It was almost noon and the ground was a little hot under the sun.
How long do we have to wait here? The monster has just been injured, and it might hide for a few days. Monsters don't have that kind of patience.
While the two were talking, they did not notice that something seemed to be wriggling in the soil around the hillside. The originally lush vegetation seemed to be swallowed up by something and sank directly to the bottom. At the same time, some translucent tentacles with a little blood were stretching out from the soil and quietly crawling towards the two people along the cracks in the rocks.
Be careful.
Li Liang saw a stone next to him move.
Bang!
The flamethrower in Lu Xingnan's hand shot out a wave of heat, which moved the stone away. It turned out to be a black snake hiding under the stone. The black snake was frightened and wanted to run, but it was caught by the tentacles. It twisted its body a few times and was pulled down the hillside, where it sank into the soil and disappeared.
We are surrounded.
Li Liang took a closer look and found that the hillside was already full of those terrifying tentacles, which were constantly approaching them. As soon as he finished speaking, several tentacles stabbed towards him. Li Liang swung the dagger in his hand and cut off the one closest to him, and blood spurted out. The other tentacles rushed towards Li Liang like crazy, completely ignoring Lu Xingnan who was standing aside.
Boom!
Lu Xingnan directly fired the flamethrower. Under the burning flames, some tentacles were directly burned to ashes, some were burned and retracted into the ground, but some were still attacking Li Liang.
New tentacles kept extending from the soil, attacking Li Liang frantically.
Li Liang kept swinging the dagger in his hand to chop, but it didn't have much effect. Even with the flamethrower in Lu Xingnan's hand, they wouldn't be able to hold out for long. Under the hill, the huge pincers of the sand monster had already stretched out from the ground. As long as one of the tentacle grabbed Li Liang, it would desperately pull him down and send him into the monster's pincers to die. Do you want us to cooperate? Just when both of them were feeling a little tired, someone suddenly spoke. Chapter 19 Lone Wolf Wang Yuanshui. Who? It was a critical moment now. Li Liang looked around and didn't see anyone, so he had to concentrate again on dealing with the tentacles coming towards him. You won't be able to hold out like this for long. The voice sounded again, and Li Liang finally determined the direction from which the voice came and looked up at the sky. A young man was hovering above them. The man was wearing a suit of armor-like equipment and had a pair of wing-like launchers on his back that were spraying flames, allowing him to stay in the air. Who are you? Li Liang asked vigilantly. He didn't believe that such a coincidence would happen if someone suddenly appeared at this time. Don't be nervous, I have no ill will towards you. Wang Yuanshui said with a smile and closed the distance between them. Shouldn't you wait a little longer and show up when we are both defeated? Lu Xingnan analyzed calmly. It was still unclear whether this person was an enemy or a friend. Okay, I told you not to be nervous. Wang Yuanshui threw out a few black objects as he spoke. They fell to the ground like spinning tops and burrowed directly into the soil. Bang bang bang. With a few muffled sounds, most of the tentacles that were stretched out and still wriggling were blown away, and the rest shrank back into the soil. The hillside suddenly became quiet. Wang Yuanshui also landed next to Li Liang. Now you should believe me. Wang Yuanshui said with a smile. Deep Earth Charge. LV Xingnan looked at the weapon. You are mercenary. Wang Yuanshui nodded. He was not surprised that Lu Xingnan recognized his identity. Instead, he felt a little proud. Mercenaries are people who will not do anything without profit. Why did you save us? Here is what I want. We can cooperate. It's a good thing for you anyway. How to cooperate? Him? Wang Yuanshui pointed at Li Liang. He has a mark on his body made by that thing. He can be used as bait. When Li Liang heard this, he felt unhappy. How did I become the bait? Lu Xingnan didn't say anything. Okay. Li Liang spoke first. He knew that if they continued to waste time, both he and Lu Xingnan would be doomed. He has no time to waste, he has to find a way to rescue Angelababy as soon as possible. No, it's too dangerous. Lu Xingnan refused directly. Ding! The system detects that the second Beauty's affection for the host has increased, and begins to worry about the host's safety, so it is issuing a reward. The system's voice sounded. It's finally here. Li Liang almost laughed. At this moment, he could only rely on the system to save his life or even turn the situation around. What reward is that? Give it to me now. System reward, a one-time use skill, burning. It can release flames to wrap the whole body, and any object that comes close will be burned to ashes. After the system finished speaking, the reward was automatically issued. Li Liang suddenly felt more confident, at least he wasn't dying in vain. Tell me clearly what you want to do. Li Liang asked Wang Yuanshui, wanting to see what this guy was trying to do. If you jump down from here, you will definitely be able to lure that thing out. I'll make preparations in advance, and we'll hunt it together. It's that simple. Wang Yuanshui didn't expect Li Liang to agree so readily, which was a bit surprising. Then how can you guarantee that I won't die? Li Liang asked deliberately. I can't guarantee that. Wang Yuanshui said with a smile, as a mercenary, I know that you should never rely on others to survive at any time. After saying this, the device behind him ignited again, causing him to fly several meters upwards. You guys can consider it. I have plenty of time anyway. I can wait until you are all dead, and then I will take action. Wang Yuanshui smiled, looking like an outsider. Okay, it's settled. I hope you won't go back on your word. Li Liang really wanted to beat this guy up, but now was not the time. He ran straight down the hill. Quite courageous. While speaking, Wang Yuanshui had already thrown out more than a dozen deep earth charges. As soon as the bombs hit the ground, they drilled directly into it. Then he flew behind Li Liang. Boom! As soon as Li Liang reached the ground, there was a sound on the ground, and a hole was formed. Then a pair of huge pincers emerged. This was not the end. Behind the pincers was a pitch-black head. It was called a head, but it was more like a frying pan. The head of this sand monster had been specialized into the shape of a helmet. It was flat on top and looked very resistant to blows. Its eyes were as big as a human fist. Its whole body was like an earthworm, with countless hair follicle-like tentacles on its body. Some of them were lubricated and came out of the soil, emitting bursts of foul odor. Just as it crawled out of the ground, the bombs that had been buried underground exploded one after another. The surrounding soil was directly blown up. The mud and sand fell like rain. Huang Yuanshui took advantage of this opportunity and rushed towards the monster in the sand like a meteor. At the same time, a scimitar extended from both sides of his body, flashing with cold light. The monster in the sand instinctively sensed the danger and pounced directly towards Huang Yuanshui. When the huge pliers and the two scimitars touched, there was a sound of metal collision. Huang Yuanshui's body was stopped by the pliers, but he did not look panicked. Instead, he stretched out his right hand, with an aiming device on his wrist, and aimed directly at the monster's head. 3 small red dots moved around on it for a while, then gathered together. He aimed and shot. A laser shot out directly, and a high temperature created a hole in the monster's head, going straight through its skull. However, even so, the monster did not die. The huge pair of pliers were still clamping Huang Yuanshui tightly, and the two scimitars had begun to deform. Oh no, this guy's brains are not in his head. Huang Yuanshui showed nervousness for the first time. The situation was different from what he had expected. The monster's body gradually popped out. Under the pair of huge pincers, there was a big mouth. Li Liang thought that was its mouth. However, only now did he see that there was another mouth in the middle of the monster's body, like a crack, full of sharp teeth, which kept wriggling. Be careful! Lu Xingnan shouted from behind. Only then did Li Liang realize that his legs had been entangled by the tentacles at some point, and he was pulled directly towards the big mouth in the middle of the monster's body. Lu Xingnan wanted to rescue him, but it was too late. Li Liang was dragged directly into the huge mouth and was wrapped by rows of sharp teeth. Miscalculated. Get out first and then look for another chance. Huang Yuanshui's expression changed slightly when he saw Li Liang being swallowed. He was about to fight back and escape, but he saw a flash of fire in the huge mouth. The flames shot out directly, making crackling sounds. The pliers that were originally tightly clamped on Huang Yuanshui suddenly loosened. The entire body of the monster began to twist, as if it was struggling, and finally fell to the ground and lay motionless. Black spots appeared on its body, and then flames burst out from it, enveloping its entire body. What's going on? Huang Yuanshui stood in the air, a little surprised, but Lu Xingnan seemed much calmer. A man crawled out from the monster's body. It was Li Liang, who had just been eaten by Tun. At this time, Li Liang's clothes were all torn and he had many scars, some of which were so deep that the bones could be seen. This time he is seriously injured. Li Liang took a deep breath. It was a close call. If he hadn't used the burning skill in time to burn the monster to death, he might have really died in its mouth. Good guy. Although I don't know what is going on, I can't miss this opportunity. Huang Yuanshui rushed directly to the monster, took out a dagger, and searched on the part of its body that was still intact. After determining the location, he stabbed it with a knife, then reached in and explored for a while. Finally, he took out something that looked like an egg, put it in a bag he had prepared in advance, and carried it on his back. This is your real purpose. Li Liang naturally understood that Huang Yuanshui used and helped him just to get that thing. This deal was not easy. I almost lost my life. Huang Yuanshui flew up and was about to leave immediately, but hesitated for a moment, turned around and said to Li Liang, I will tell you one more thing as a reward for our cooperation just now. There will be big trouble on the Ark. After saying this, Huang Yuanshui flew away without looking back. Chapter 23 Giant Catfish. Strange guy. Although Li Liang felt that Huang Yuanshui was a little weird, he thought it was impossible for the other party to say such a thing for no reason. If there is big trouble over at Ark, then Angela baby will be in danger. Li Liang and Lu Xingnan hurried to the riverside. Lu Xingnan also knew where the Ark was docked. The wandering zombies they encountered along their way were easily eliminated by the two. There is a big river beside Linjiang City. The diameter of the river is several kilometers wide, which can accommodate giant ships. The entire city used to have very developed water freight and tourism. The location where the Ark docked was the former cargo terminal, where many cargo ships were also docked. Which one is it? The two quickly arrived at the dock. Faced with a large number of ships, Li Liang could only ask Lu Xingnan. I don't know. Lu Xingnan smiled bitterly. Her mission was only to search for survivors in the city and gather them together, while it was Kong Fei's task to take them to the Ark. So she actually knew nothing about the Ark and had no intelligence at all. Where is that bastard? Li Liang looked at the ships aimlessly, hoping to find a clue. Night had already fallen, and the entire dock was completely dark and silent. The river breeze blew like the roar of a beast. If nothing had happened, this place would be very prosperous. Li Liang couldn't help but sigh. LV Xingnan didn't say anything, but her steps were obviously hesitant. She didn't know what the prosperity Li Liang was talking about was like, but she had heard about some things from others, such as the bustling markets and entertainment venues that were open all night. Puff puff puff. In the center of the river, a series of bubbles emerged, as if a big fish was rolling inside. This naturally attracted the attention of Li Liang and the others. A spot of light emerged from Jiang's heart, gradually growing larger and illuminating the surrounding area. It's actually a submarine. Li Liang observed carefully. Compared with the submarine in his memory, the one in front of him was smaller. There were some devices similar to gun muzzles on both sides of the submarine. After the submarine surfaced, it quickly approached the shore. Then a beam of light shone on Li Liang and the other person. After confirming their identities, a door on the submarine opened. Let's go. Li Liang and the other man hurried in. As soon as the two entered, the door was closed, and then the entire submarine started, went to the center of the river again, and sank. The interior of the submarine is not big, and with dozens of people inside, it seems a bit crowded. I'm here. Angelababy shouted to Li Liang and waved her hands hard to reveal her location. Be quiet. Kong Fei seemed a little impatient and looked at Li Liang and Lu Xingnan with a bad look. He Wei Gui was helping Kong Fei in maintaining public security and smiled at Li Liang. I'm glad you're okay. Li Liang walked quickly to Yarn Ying's side. Seeing that Yarn Ying was in good spirits, he felt relieved. At the same time, he glared at Kong Fei. This guy had abandoned his business, and he couldn't just let it go like that. When did you arrive? Lu Xingnan asked. The submarine had clearly submerged, but then surfaced to pick them up. She didn't think Kong Fei was so kind. HMPH. Kong Fei looked unhappy. The Alliance's duty is to protect those who survive. Since you are still alive, I will naturally come to pick you up. He's lying. Yarn Ying didn't give Kong Fei a good look and directly exposed him. There are surveillance cameras installed on the dock. They know you are still alive. Someone ignored him and came up to pick you up directly. You. Kong Fei's face twitched a few times and he was speechless. Har har, Captain Kong, don't be so angry. A hearty voice came from the cab, and then a young man walked out. The man looked to be in his 20s, with long hair that was not messy at all. He had a little beard, but it was obviously trimmed, and he looked very energetic. He was the one who insisted on coming up to pick you up. When Yan Ying saw this man, her expression became noticeably friendlier. Just call me Abin. Abin said with a smile, I am the contact person for this mission and the safety officer of this boat. As long as someone can make it to the dock alive, I have the obligation to take him away. Although he said that, it was obvious that Abin and Kong Fei were not getting along, and the two of them didn't even look at each other. Are we leaving this city now? Asked Lu Xingnan. No, we are not leaving. We are just entering the fortress below the city. Abin said with a smile. Facing LV Xingnan's puzzled look, he explained, the intelligence you received before was not accurate. This is also the rule of the Alliance. The information obtained by executors at each level is inaccurate. This can make the Alliance's plans safer and there is no need to worry about it being leaked. We just need to successfully carry out the tasks we are responsible for. Then the fortress we are going to now is underwater. Li Liang felt his eardrums a little uncomfortable. The water pressure around him was obviously increasing, which meant that the dive depth was already very deep. Abin nodded, but didn't say anything more. Bang! Everyone felt unsteady on their feet, as if there had been an earthquake. Bang! Before everyone could react, the submarine shook again, as if it had been hit hard. Something is attacking us outside, someone in the cockpit shouted. At the same time, a huge black shadow appeared on the screen inside the cabin, constantly swimming on the right side of the submarine. It was almost the same size as the submarine. Shine the light. I want to see what this is. Abin shouted towards the cab. A beam of bright light shone out from the top of the submarine, and the first thing that appeared in the light and shadow was 3 huge mouths full of sharp teeth. This is a giant catfish with 3 mouths. In addition to the big mouth in the center, the gills on both sides have also been specialized into mouths, which are open at the same time. There are remnants of human corpses hanging in the sharp teeth. Damn, I actually met this monster here. Abin obviously knew about this thing and looked very nervous. Dive at full speed and get rid of it. Abin shouted loudly. The submarine increased its speed of descent. Some people couldn't stand this change. Their ears hurt so much that they could only cover their ears with their hands and squat on the ground. Some people cried in fear. Don't be afraid. Li Liang also felt a little difficulty breathing, but he still tried to stay calm and comforted Angela baby. There was no way the giant catfish would give up just like that. It followed the submarine downstream at a speed that did not slow down at all. The two were almost sticking to each other as they sank down. Can't get rid of it. An anxious voice came from the cab. Use the artillery, blow it into pieces. Abin shouted loudly.